Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is presented by
Bell Tire.
Tonight, Justin Verlander will take the mound here at Comerica Park, and this year that has been a very good thing. 2-0 record at home and a sparkling ERA of 2.10. JV and the Tigers on a beautiful night for baseball, taking on the Tampa Bay Rays in Game 1. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to Tigers Baseball. Mario and Pemba alongside Rod Allen. Glad to have you with us here for Game 1 of the series. JV on the mound tonight, Rod. That is a good thing. Now the Tigers need their ace to step up this evening.
They really do, and you gave the numbers. He's been very good here at home. He hasn't pitched all that well on the road. One of the things that we'll watch very closely here today, the amount of foul balls that Tampa's able to foul off against Verlander, that has been something that's hampered him lately. They need him to stay out there for a while today, but more importantly, they need him to go out there and dominate to give him a chance to win the ball game tonight.
All right, now the Tigers offensively have kind of been up and down this year. One guy that has really gotten it going, though, in the month of July, or June, I should say, and hopefully into July, is Jose Iglesias, both with the bat and the glove. He's been fantastic.
It's been salary drive for Iglesias in the month of June. That's how well this young man is playing. And last year, he played very well. But from an offensive standpoint, in his last 15 contests, over 400 with the batting average. He's driving in a few runs. He's a very difficult at bat. Very seldom does he strike out. With 2 strikes, he gives you a quality plate appearance time in and time in. But this is what we talk about on a nightly basis with Jose Iglesias. The range that he has in shortstop position, the lethal first quick step, the accuracy that he has with the arm, and the play that he made last night. You don't see this every night, folks. Starting a 6-4-3 double play with Ian Kinsler. He has not won a Gold Glove yet, Mario, but he has a legitimate chance of winning a Gold Glove this year.
And Game 1 in the series just minutes away. After a short break, we'll send you out of the Call Sam Studios. Check in with John Keating. Coming up in this one tonight, here is one bat the Tigers going to have to stop. That would be Corey Dickerson having a career year. Tigers Rays, Game 1. Coming up next.
Anderson lost 25 pounds and gained 95 points for his batting average. That's a pretty good trade-off. That'll keep you off the cheesecake. He leads the Rays into Detroit tonight. A quick pop back into the Call Sam studio. I'm John Keating. Game time coming up. Comerica Park is right now third in baseball in terms of the batting average in a particular stadium. And here, the Tigers will look to reignite their bats after scoring only one time against the Diamondbacks last night in a 2-1 loss. Of course, it will be helpful if Victor Martinez can do what he usually does against the Tampa Bay Rays, and that's hit and hit well. A .346 career average for Vmart against Tampa Bay. He's got 5 homers for the season. If Detroit combines for 3 or more homers in tonight's game, you're invited to bring in a copy of the box score to a participating Arby's location tomorrow and get a free small order of curly fries. Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is brought to you by Comerica Bank, a part of Detroit and the community since 1849. And by Dodge. Test drive a Dodge Challenger or Charger at the Dodge Drive and Discover sales event going on now.
Rays tonight. It is game 1 in this 4-game weekend series. JV on the mound for the Tigers. And Justin is presented tonight by Family Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
And last time out for Justin Verlander, his second consecutive no decision against the Boston Red Sox. Only 5 innings that day for Verlander through 108 pitches. A lot of pitches he threw in that contest. He'll need to be more economical tonight against the Tampa Bay Rays, a team he's had success against.
Here is the lineup he will face, presented by the Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. For the Rays, they have Malik Smith leading it off in center field, and Dickerson, who's had a really good year this year. Longoria, they've got Morrison cleaning up, Sousa, Rasmus, and Robertson, and they're rounding it out with Martinez at second. Sucre is the catcher for Kevin Cash and the Tampa Bay Rays.
And Kevin Kiermaier, their very talented center fielder, went on the disabled list about a week ago with a hip injury, and Smith has filled in very nicely for him, hitting in all 6 games that he's appeared in.
.348 for Malik Smith over the course of the year. He's been up and down a couple of times. A lot of speed at the top of the lineup for Smith.
He's already bunted for 3 base hits in the last 6 games.
Castellanos creeping into the grass at third. First pitch of tonight's ball game is a strike on Smith. Nicholas a couple of steps on that grass, third base side, trying to take the bunt away from Smith. Now Justin with the 0-1. Popped up foul down the third base line. Castellanos on a sprint, but won't get there. 0-2 on the leadoff man. Rays just finished a short series against the Blue Jays. They split 2 with Toronto, but Kevin Cash has his team at 35 and 33. They're battling in that pretty good American League East.
They've been playing some pretty good baseball. As a matter of fact, they've won 6 of their last 8 games, and they're getting it done with their offense and their pitching. They're playing some good baseball right now.
0-2 on Smith. Fouled straight back.
And one of the things that Verlander's going to have to do, he's going to have to work down at the bottom of the strike zone. And if he's able to do that, then maybe they won't foul off as many pitches as the Boston Red Sox did 5 days ago.
Well, it was in some ways tough to watch with all the foul balls that the Red Sox offense kept spoiling. And it's been something that has hampered Verlander this year. Here's a bouncing ball to second. Kinsler to his left. And they'll keep Smith off the bases. 1 gone.
And let's take a look at the Tigers starting defensive alignment. Left to right, you've got Upton, you've got Presley and JD Martinez in the outfield. Third to first reads Castellanos, Iglesias, Ian Kinsler, Miguel Cabrera, and Alex Avila is the catcher.
Well, unless you follow the Rays on a daily basis, you probably had no idea that Corey Dickerson is having the type of year he is having. .335 average, 15 home runs this season.
He's been a really good all-around player in his 2nd year since they acquired him from the Colorado Rockies.
Right now leading the American League in hits with 87. They employ the shift on Dickerson.
And Tigers are playing a huge shift on Dickerson, as Mario mentioned, but that shift really hasn't worked all that well this year for the opposition. He has gotten a lot of hits the opposite way, and that's why the batting average is .335 right now. He's been beating the shift all season.
Fly ball in the air to right field. That'll be playable for JD Martinez. 2 gone. Here are the field conditions tonight, presented by Ace Hardware and the Scotts Company. It is an 83-degree night. A little bit of humidity in the air here this evening. Otherwise, very pleasant. Cloudy in the area, but no rain. It was raining hard at the ballpark earlier this afternoon, but that has washed away. Now with 2 outs, here is Longoria. .259 over the season for Longoria. 9 home runs. Strike 1 on the outer edge.
He's been hot lately. Last 13 games for Longoria, he's batting nearly .350 with some extra base damage.
The 0-1 pitch. Longoria has been one of the mainstays in their lineup. He has been a Ray for quite a while now. In fact, he's a guy that likes to play as many games as possible. Since the start of the 2013 season, he leads the majors in games played.
He's a nice two-way player. A good offensive player with some power. Most of his power is to the pull field. Also very good at third base. A lot of good third basemen in baseball these days. Arenado out in Colorado. Machado in Baltimore.
Swing and a miss, 2-2 on Longoria.
absolute filthy slider here thrown by Justin Verlander at 88 miles an hour. Now look at it come off the fingertips. Beautiful pitch.
Here's the 2-2. And another one got him looking. Breaking ball for strike 3. Inning over. Verlander, we go to the bottom of the first. Here come the Tigers offensively tonight. Their starting lineup presented by the Southeast Michigan Ford Dealers. There's Ian Kinsler. He'll get things started for the Tigers, followed by Avila and Cabrera. The middle of your lineup tonight, V-Mart, J.D. Martinez, and then Upton, Castellanos, Presley, and the red-hot Jose Iglesias rounding it out. MGM Grand Detroit. Presenting the Rays starting pitcher tonight, that would be Alex Cobb.
It's a milestone start for Alex Cobb. He is making his 100th start of his major league career, making him the 7th member of the Tampa Bay Rays to do so. Fastball gets up to 92, 93. It's got a knuckle curve that he throws quite a few of, and a changeup, a split changeup that's really been a signature pitch for him since he came to the big leagues.
So Kinsler will get things started. Tigers had trouble getting the bats going in the ball game last night. They managed only 1 run against Arizona. They were swept by the Diamondbacks. Playing to pull against Kinsler.
Well, one of the things that we will talk about for the next few days here is the amount of times that the Tampa Bay Rays shift. They shift on everybody. As a matter of fact, them and the Houston Astros, probably the most shifting teams in all of baseball.
Kinsler, because of that, has a wide open right side of the infield. The 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike on Ian.
Alex Cobb has a little hesitation in his delivery, and which at times could present some problems for the hitter. And once he picks that left leg up, he kind of hesitates for a moment before allowing the arm to catch up.
And that hit him. So Kinsler hit by the pitch, and the Tigers get the leadoff man aboard.
And let's take a look at the Tampa Bay Rays starting defense. It is brought to you by Tim Hortons in the outfield. They've got Rasmus, they've got Smith and Souza Jr. All 3 guys in their outfield all have very good throwing arms. Dave Clark, the third base coach, told them before the game. So they'll have to watch those guys very closely in certain situations.
Now with the Avila up there, they will shift the other way as they swing around to the right side of the infield. Alex 1 out of 7 in the series against the Diamondbacks. Batting in the 2 slot again here tonight for the Tigers. And he'll look at a ball high.
And the Rays are one of those teams that elects to leave their third baseman, Evan Longoria, at the third base position. There are some teams that will take their third baseman and move him over to the other side of the diamond because they feel like he has less range than the middle infielders. But Longoria was a shortstop in college. until Troy Tulowitzki made him move to third base. How about that? Left side of your infield in college.
Pretty good.
We talked about the Pedroia-Kinsler combination that forced Kinsler to another spot. Missouri from Arizona State.
Right.
1-1 on Avila. It's been kind of a pickle for Brad Ausmus. He wants to make sure that Avila does not get overused and gets his days off, but the way he's been hitting, he's been really good in that 2 spot too. He's had trouble taking him out of the lineup.
I really haven't been able to digest all the numbers, but Avila's having a really good year. I don't know what other catchers are doing in the American League, but he might have an outside chance of going to another All-Star game the way he's been playing.
He may. He was an All-Star back in 2011. And James McCann has found a lot less playing time because of the way Avila has kind of seized the opportunity. It's a swing and a miss, 1-2.
It's kind of funny how that works, because a couple of years ago, Alex, before he left, he was the starting catcher at the beginning of the season, and he struggled, and then James McCann took over as the starter. And then Alex comes back, and McCann struggling a little bit, so Alex getting a whole lot more playing time.
Avila is hitting nearly 100 points higher than he was last year.
Is that a lot?
That's a lot. That is a real lot. 1-2 on Avila. Swing and a miss, and Cobb strikes him out. 1 gone.
Cobb has a fastball that gets up to about 92, 93. He moves it all around the strike zone with really good control, but this has been a good pitch for him too. It's his curveball, and that's what he's able to freeze Avila on with the breaking ball. He also has a good changeup. He dropped that one in there nicely.
So here is Miguel Cabrera, and they will shift to the left side now against Miggy. It's funny, it's almost like you have to follow a playbook if you're a Rays defender. Every hitter has his own way of being shifted.
We're starting to see more and more guys with little cheat sheets in their back pocket.
Yeah.
I watch games on television now, and they take shots at the outfielders and the infielders, and they're pulling little cheat sheets out of their pocket. And what they're looking at is they're looking at where they've been told to play certain guys. That way the coach doesn't always have to move you from the dugout.
It's almost like the quarterback that has the plays on his wristband.
That's right.
Runner goes. 1-0 pitch is a strike with no throw. He'll steal it standing up.
Ian Kinsler had such a massive jump. I think he about scared himself. He took about 3 or 4 steps, and then Cobb delivered the ball home, which made it very easy for Ian Kinsler to get to second base without a slide.
He took off so early that it appeared that Cobb might have been able to step off.
And with that huge hole on the right side of the infield now, here's where Miguel Cabrera will not get greedy. He'll simply try to hit something through the right side of the infield to pick up this run right here.
It'll bend inside.
And the one thing that Miguel always talks about is the fact that when he's not necessarily going great, he doesn't try to force the issue by trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. But with this huge hole on that side of the diamond, and the fact that Miggy has the kind of control that he has with his bat, and no doubt he might try to shoot something in that direction.
And again, Cabrera is back out of there. That ball up near his chin. The count goes 3-1 on Miguel, with Victor Martinez waiting on deck.
Miggy really hasn't had a whole lot of success against Cobb, and batting just 182, 2 for 11. He's got himself in a really nice, friendly fastball count should Cobb decide to throw him one.
That'll get back into the seats. Well, if the Tigers combine for 3 or more home runs in this game, bring a copy of the box score to a participating RV location tomorrow and get a free small order of curly fries. Tigers hoping to get the bats going in time to get 3 homers tonight.
Miggy got a fastball there at 92 miles an hour and was a little bit tardy on it. That's the one thing that Miggy has been lately. He's been a little tardy on his heaters.
Here's the 3-2 instead. It's a bluff to second, nobody covering.
Here's what I'm talking about. Here's the 3-1 fastball. They're trying to get it inside. The ball's right over the heart of the plate, but yet Mickey still a little late in a fastball count. He's still just a little bit off right now.
Now the 3-2. And Cabrera shoots one to third on the backhand there, Longoria. And Cabrera's out. Runner will hold 2 away. Hard hit ball, but Longoria with a nice backhanded play. We'll bring up Victor Martinez. Vimart batting .257 with 5 home runs. Got a couple of RBIs this year against Rays pitching.
Victor had a really good month of May with the bat, but he has struggled in the month of June.
Vimart now trying to snap it 0 for 16, and this would be a really good spot with Kinsler in scoring position.
And we told you that all the outfielders have pretty good arms, but Ian Kinsler has good speed, so it shouldn't be an issue. And for him to score on a base hit to the outfield. Rasmus, Smith, and Souza Jr. all 3 can throw.
.318 in May, .205 in June. A reversal of fortunes for Victor. 2-0. In Alex Cobb, we have one of the slower pitchers in the American League. He takes about 26.3 seconds between pitches. That is the 3rd slowest among all pitchers in the American League. Actually, that's MLB.
Really?
Not the American League. So Cobb likes to take it nice and slow. He's fallen behind 2-0 on Victor.
And he slows it down even more. And when runners are on base.
Vimart now up 3-0 with JD on deck.
And you wonder if Victor's thinking about 3-0 here, swinging at a fastball if he gets one.
He does. Drives it to center field on a drop base hit. Kinsler rounding third. Here comes a throw from Smith. Off target, an RBI single for Victor Martinez.
That's a nice job there by Victor. Yeah, getting that 3-0 fastball and not missing it, not trying to do too much with it. It is right down the middle. It's about 92 miles an hour, sitting on a tee for Victor. He climbs the ladder, gets on top of it, and rips it to center field. With 2 outs, no problem for Dave Clark to send Ian Kinsler home. And the Tigers on the board first here tonight.
It'll snap it 0 for 16 for Victor Martinez.
And Victor came in with a career .346 batting average against Tampa pitching with over 300 plate appearances. So no small sample size for Victor against Tampa. He's done very well against them.
Now JD steps in and he looks at a strike in the outside corner.
You guys thought I was crazy today when I took Victor for my pick to stick, didn't you? You looked at me kind of sideways
I didn't
today.
look at you sideways. I looked at a guy that had huge numbers against Tampa, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I should have taken Victor.
You looked at me kind of sideways when I took Victor today.
Time now for the Napa know-how, and Victor Martinez, well, the numbers continue to climb. Highest average against Tampa Bay.
The only one better is the guy going into the Hall of Fame this year, Pudge Rodriguez.
Line drive, base hit, center field, looping over the head of Martinez. And JD is aboard. Back-to-back hits now for the Tigers. We'll bring up Justin Upton. J-Up has hit safely in 11 of his last 12. The average now at .265. Longoria goes out to the mound to have a quick confab with Cobb.
This is the first ever meeting between Justin Upton and Alex Cobb.
Two teams ahead of the Tigers in the Central Division standings already won today. Minnesota and Cleveland. They played day games. Both winners. Upton takes ball one high. We're talking about some of the successes that Cobb has had against the Tigers in his career, but all of that success came prior to the Tommy John surgery he had in 2015. And before that surgery, really good numbers versus Detroit. The 1-0. Some guys take longer than others in coming back totally from Tommy John surgery. Cobb is attempting to do that, and he's had some good starts this year.
It's a great point. And this much we do know about the Tommy John surgery. The success rate is way up there. There's over 100 guys pitching in the big leagues that have had that surgery.
Two balls and one strike on Upton. But Cobb, along with the Tommy John, also had the thoracic outlet syndrome, where he had to have partially a rib removed. That was a few years before the Tommy John. So he's gone through his challenges. Infield plane to pull on Jay Up. Swing and a miss. 2-2 on Upton.
I'm almost positive too that Cobb got hit in the head one year too and missed considerable time when he was hit in the head.
Was that him?
I believe so.
Waiting on deck, Castellanos.
Eric Hosmer, it was June of 2015. J-Up's been getting a lot of curveballs lately. Most of his home runs have come off curveballs. And we've talked about the fact that Cobb's got a decent curveball. He likes to throw his curveball quite a bit. If you're J-Up, you can't sit on one, but it can be in the back of your mind.
They have a couple of years ago a little kind of cross between a hat and a helmet for pitchers to kind of try out.
He wore it. You got a good memory.
It never really stuck though, did it?
Nope. It didn't look all that good.
No. And I guess it wasn't a fashion statement. It's more about protection, but still, it had to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, he wore it. 25 pitches already for Cobb. And 13 strikes, 12 balls. Tigers have had a real nice inning against him today. Kevin Cash. Very young manager.
Tigers have seen a couple of good young managers in the last two series. Torey Lovello and now Cash. There's a pop-up. First base side. Morrison is under it, and that'll end the inning. Tigers get a run on the RBI hit by Victor.
Verlander threw 108 pitches against the Boston Red Sox in just 5 innings, and the reason for that is they fouled off 26 of the 108. And whether it was a fastball up or breaking balls or changeups down, the Boston Red Sox were fouling off a lot of pitches, and were finally able to get Verlander out of the game in the 6th inning.
26 foul balls and 108 in the pitch count, but a very snappy 11-pitch first inning tonight, so that's good. Logan Morrison leads it off for the Rays, and he drives one toward left center field. Presley is on the move. It's going to drop. Base hit.
Some interesting numbers on the Tampa Bay Rays in regards to foul balls. They lead Major League Baseball in fouling off nearly 29 pitches per game. And Verlander's second in the major leagues at issuing 22 foul balls per game. So something's got to give here today.
What are you saying?
It's crazy. And this team will foul off a lot of balls, so we'll watch that closely today.
So you saying buckle in?
Buckle in, and the fact you talked about Cobb takes about 26 seconds in between pitches, so it could be a long night.
Here is Steven Souza Jr.
But I couldn't think of a better place to be tonight, downtown Detroit.
Take as long as you want, as long as we win the game. Tigers need a victory. Souza at 259 drives one down the left field line. That ball is hooking, and it's a foul ball.
They hit a lot of home runs, and the Tampa Bay Rays. They've got several guys that do major damage, several guys in double digits in home runs, and Souza Jr. would be one of those with 11.
They do hit a lot of home runs. That last one was an absolute missile. Rays have hit 103 homers, the second most in the majors.
They don't get cheated. They used to be a team that liked to take a lot of pitches and work a lot of counts, but they're not that way under their new hitting coach, Chad Mottola. They're very aggressive.
0-2.
Now here's where Verlander could put guys away and limit the foul balls. If he pitches to more contact with 2 strikes. I think Verlander at times when he gets 2 strikes, he wants to strike everybody out. But if you throw a good changeup down or a good breaking ball down and do some contact on the ground, you get the double play, and that keeps your pitch count down. If he throws a fastball, there's a good chance Souza Jr. might foul that off.
Just missed there. That ball was pretty close. 1-2 on Souza. JV over his career 8-3 against the Rays, a good ERA 3.34. A lot of success against Tampa over the years. Now the 1-2 way outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
.91 strikeouts, just 29 base on balls.
And a whip a little over 1.
15 prior starts to tonight.
Here's the 2-2, and he missed again, 3-2. So there you go. He was 0-2 in the count, but now it's full.
Well, because he's going for a strikeout.
Yeah.
Instead of just throwing the ball over the plate, inducing some kind of contact, if you make and locate your pitch, it's okay.
Leadoff single by Morrison. And he draws a walk, so the first 2 men are on here in the second. Souza will do that. He draws a lot of walks. Here is the Bernstein advantage with Colby Rasmus coming to the plate against Verlander. Not so good in 8 at-bats, 7 punch-outs, 2 out of 8. JV has had his number.
You're not kidding about the Souza walks. That is now 40 base on balls for him this year, which ties Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees.
Last time we faced the Rays down in Tampa, Rasmus was on the DL, I believe. He'll swing at the first and foul it back.
Colby's a decent player and former #1 draft choice of the St. Louis Cardinals. It's a good outfielder with a good arm. He's got some pop in his bat. Had a couple of good years playing for the Houston Astros.
You know, they're putting players' names on every piece of equipment now, apparently even on elbow protectors. That's Colby's. Nobody take it.
Nope. No one can use it.
Oh, they got a pickoff throw at second and safe. He just got back in.
How did he get back in?
I don't know, but he somehow found a way to sneak that hand in there. Morrison was picked clean.
It's a great move by Verlander. We've seen a lot of Tigers with this spin move, the inside spin move with a runner on second base. And it looked like he was spinning his wheels trying to get back. Oh, he was able to reach in with that left hand before Iglesias was able to apply the tag to the shoulder. It's a nice slide back in by Morrison.
Jerry Meals had a nice, good long look at it, and the Tigers have waved it off. No challenge. Colby Rasmus, 9 homers this year. It's been hot lately. And you look at a strike going to Bender there from JV. Rasmus came off the disabled list in early May. He had hip surgery. Chopper to the right side. Miggy tags the bag there for the out. Runners will advance. He'll bring up Daniel Robertson. Robertson's been on base in 14 consecutive starts for the Rays. Homered in the series in Tampa that was played earlier this year. Now trying to drive in a couple of runs here with a base hit. Ooh, that one fooled Avila, got behind him, but not far enough.
And he got crossed up. And whatever the mix-up was, Avila was not looking for the fastball. Avila was looking for the breaking ball, and he's very lucky that that ball hit his glove. It was headed right for the face mask.
Robertson batting just 209. A little bit of power. He's got 4 homers this year.
Yeah, Tigers look like they're conceding the run on the infield. Anything on the ground by Robertson, Morrison will score.
There's a bouncer back up the middle. Kinsler has it. And scoring from third base is Logan Morrison to tie the game. RBI for Daniel Robertson. 1-1 ball game. Now Michael Martinez. Martinez, an Indians cast-off. He was designated for assignment earlier this year in May by Cleveland. With the Rays only 2 for 23. Floating outside, 1-0.
And Martinez can play a lot of different positions. And he can be very valuable to a team.
Switch hitter. Has been with several different teams. That'll miss outside again. 2 balls and no strikes. JV throwing from the windup. Here's the 2-0. Way outside, 3-0. So Justin falling behind a guy that has only a couple of hits and 23 at bats this year.
He's batting 176, but Justin Verlander threw him a 2-0 changeup.
Number 9 hitter Sucre waiting on deck. And there's ball 4. He walked him.
That has been an issue this year for Verlander. He walked 4 in his last outing against the Boston Red Sox. He's already walked 2 here today.
That'll bring him Jesus Sucre. Both walks here in the second inning.
And Dave Clark and talking to the outfielders and telling them exactly where to play. Sucre.
Little chopper foul third base side. So Verlander had a pretty snappy first inning, but 2 walks and a run here in the second have slowed things down considerably. Sucre at 243. They play him fairly straight up in the infield. The 0-1.
And Tigers bullpen in pretty good shape here tonight, and due to the fact that Jordan Zimmerman was outstanding in yesterday's contest, pitching 8 innings.
That is probably as good as we have seen him in a long time. Now the 0-2, and it bounces low. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
He had a good fastball in 92, 93, 94. Jordan was able to move it all around the strike zone. He threw some good breaking balls as well. Good slider, good changeup. Pitched with a lot of confidence. Good to see. Didn't walk anybody. Threw quite a few ground balls. It's a nice outing for Jordan against a good D-backs team. They can hit.
I was really impressed with how aggressive they were. That Arizona team, man, they just kept coming and coming. Here's the 1-2, and it's sprayed foul down the first base line. Well, stay tuned to Tigers Live. Following the game, we will be selecting Fox Sports Detroit Tigers Player of the Game, presented by McDonald's. Stop by for your breakfast favorites. Now being served all day. JV with a 1-2. Runner goes, and a swing and a miss. He struck him out. Sucre is out of there, and the Rays will settle for 1 run. We'll get to the bottom of the second. Nicholas Castellanos will start things off for the Tigers in a tie ball game. Players will go with the Tigers
6 through 9 hitters. How about that? 775 OPS. Only Houston is better.
That's really good. I mean, OPS, obviously, that's driving in some runs. You're getting on base, and then guys are being able to drive guys in. So Tampa also on that list. So apparently their 6 through 9 does a nice job as well.
Here's Castellanos, the number 7 hitter, to get it going. And Nicholas looks at a strike in the outer edge. Tigers got a run in the first on a 2-out RBI single by Victor Martinez. Driven to center field. Here comes Smith and dives and makes the catch. Oh, nice play there by Malik Smith, who is replacing a pretty good defender in Kevin Kiermaier.
You know, the scouting report on Smith is the fact that he doesn't take the best routes out there. Doesn't necessarily get a great jump on this ball off the bat of Castellanos, but the jumps that he does not get, he makes up for with outstanding speed. He also looks like he's got a huge glove in the outfield.
Well, that huge glove came in handy right there.
It sure did.
Man, nice play. Tigers wanted to make sure that ball wasn't trapped. They looked at it. Clearly the catch was made. Here is Presley. Strike called on Alex Presley. 286 and having a pretty good month of June, over 300 for Tigers. And really it's been a pretty good month for the guys that are playing center field for the Tigers, namely Mikey Matuk and Alex Presley. These two guys have gotten a lot of the reps and have done pretty well.
Yeah, every now and then Romine will get a rep out there too.
Yeah, Romine played yesterday, so they have filled in nicely.
And here's that cheat sheet we were talking about with some of the outfielders in baseball these days. The youngster Smith has only been in the big leagues for about a week, and so he's taking a look to see exactly where they're supposed to play Presley.
In the air to right field. Sousa is under wrong part of the ballpark for Presley. 2 gone. Now I'm assuming in your day, back in the 80s when you played, nobody had cheat sheets, did they?
No, the game is a lot more difficult nowadays. I mean, with all the cheat sheets and all the numbers that managers are paying attention to, all the data that the players are being given on a daily basis, there's a lot of data. I mean, you could really, you could take in too much if you're a numbers guy.
Agreed. Here is the red hot Iglesias. Strike 1 to Iggy.
Iglesias in his last 15 games, all in the month of June, is over 400. He has been sizzling hot.
Broke his bat there. Splintered it. 0-2.
And they don't give out a gold glove for the first 2 months of the season. But if they did, Iglesias would win it. There's no question about that at the shortstop position. He's been that good.
Well, he was a finalist last year and came very, very close. But this year, I think he's really starting to build a really nice resume. New bat in hand. Iglesias waiting on an 0-2 from Cobb, who is in search of a 1-2-3 inning after throwing 26 first inning pitches.
And Cobb likes that curveball a lot of times with 2 strikes.
Pulled on the ground and right by the third baseman Longoria. Iglesias on his way to second. He will pull in with a 2-out double, and he remains hot. 6-game streak now for Iglesias.
The Tigers, they know what I just told you, the fact that he likes to throw breaking balls with 2 strikes. And this is not a bad pitch here. Look at where this ball is. Iglesias is out in front with his body, but he kept his hands back long enough to at least get a little piece of it right past the diving Longoria for a double.
15 doubles now for Iglesias. RBI chance for Kinsler with 2 outs. Chopper to the left side for Longoria. And that'll end the threat. No runs, a 2-out double is stranded. 2 in the books at Comerica. Third on another nice night here in the Motor City. 1-1 is our score. We welcome in our good friend Craig Monroe down field side now. Simo, this Tampa Bay team is kind of an odd team to face. They strike out a lot, but they also walk a lot. We saw a little bit of that in the second.
Well, they put together solid at bats. I think we got to give this team a lot of credit. Even though they strike out, they find a way to foul off pitchers' pitches, hoping to get themselves a mistake pitch. And when they get those pitches, guys, they've been hitting the ball out of the ballpark.
Yeah, a lot of home runs this year as Malik Smith leads it off now for the Rays, and a bouncer into right field, a base hit.
Well, you have to keep this guy off the bases because he will be running on one of the first 2 pitches that Verlander delivers to the next hitter. And this is where Dickerson has done major damage this year with a runner on first base because he's gotten so many fastballs.
So Dickerson, who flying to right field, will stroll in. Smith, the runner at first, is 7 for 7 in stolen base attempts this year.
He stole 230 minor league baseballs, minor league steals. So he's a legit base stealer with a huge lead.
And Verlander, as we know, guys, is someone that will constantly throw to first base to try and keep that double play in order.
Looked like he almost balked to me, CMO, on that last delivery. Looked like he was awfully quick with that delivery to Dickerson.
Yeah, he looked pretty quick to me as well, Rod. He'll have to slow himself down, though. He's got enough to worry about right now in the batter's box with Corey Dickerson. This kid's putting together a solid season so far.
One of the things that Dickerson has done so well this year is hitting the ball the opposite way. Last year did not hit the ball as frequently the opposite way as this year, and that's one of the reasons why the batting average is at 333. And if you make a mistake, he will jump you. 15 homers as well.
Roddy talked about the leg kick, incorporating it in his swing. It allows him to stay back on that backside long enough. So as you alluded to, stay back, let the baseball travel, and allow him to actually drive the ball the opposite way.
Here's the 1-1. In there, a strike called on the outer edge.
And here's what I'm talking about regarding Dickerson. You can see all the hits straight away center field. 34 there, but here's the one I'm talking about. 28 in that direction. So a lot of hits in that direction for Dickerson so far this year. One of the reasons why he's having a really good year. He's one of the guys that has really taken the liberty and trying to beat the shift on occasion.
Well, with 2 strikes now, Castellanos has moved to the right side, so they're giving up the left side of the infield.
Makes it a little easier for Smith to steal second as well.
Swing and a miss. 3rd strikeout of the game for JB.
That's a great pitch right there, located to Dickerson. Really, that's the only pitch that he does not hit. His cold zone is right where Verlander threw that fastball, on the outside black. He does not hit the ball well when it's thrown there.
That'll bring up Evan Longoria.
So far, Justin doing a pretty nice job at making sure that Smith has not been able to get a good read and to allow him to get a good enough jump to try to steal a bag here.
Leadoff single by Smith. Longoria struck out in the 1st inning. High fly ball left field, fairly deep. Upton going back has room. And Smith will hold. And while we have a chance now, we check in with Matt Shepard.
Fellas, you guys were talking about the number of foul balls off Justin Verlander this year. I asked Logan Morrison about that. Is Verlander doing anything now that allows hitters a little bit better look at him? He looked at me like I had lobsters crawling out of my ears and said, maybe guys are just trying to hang in there against him to try and get a better pitch. You ever think of that? Because this guy is still an elite right-handed pitcher. He still throws in the upper 90s. He still is an intimidating force, and he is still one of those guys, longevity-wise, is one of the best in the business. The mutual respect everybody in that Tampa clubhouse has for Justin Verlander, even though we see some numbers that might cause people who've seen him so long a little bit of concern. Morrison reminds me, remember, he sets a really high bar, man. Back upstairs to you guys.
Hey, Shep, sometimes when you get angry, it does look like you have lobsters coming out of your ear.
I know, especially when I've been out in the sun a lot.
That's pretty high praise coming from Morrison, and knows how difficult it is to do what Verlander has been able to do in the big leagues for over a decade. He's thrown more pitches than any other pitcher.
Well, you can clearly tell the respect factor.
Close play here. Quick pickoff move by Verlander.
Oh, we got back in with the left hand. And we talked about how Dickerson has had a good year. Logan Morrison has had good power numbers this year, 19 home runs.
The one thing about Morrison, his numbers are down as far as what he does with runners in scoring position. But with runners on, in particular runners on first base, he's already homered 6 times this year. So 6 of his 19 homers have come with a runner on first base this year.
He also was able to put together a solid at bat. Mario Rod against Verlander in his first at bat, stayed back on a real nice breaking ball.
1-1.
I think that's the pitch of choice today for me, the off-speed stuff for Verlander. It seems like when he does throw the off-speed pitches, they're not really getting a good swing at him. It's a good curveball there that, and Morrison swings right over the top of.
How about Souza on deck? He's almost directly behind the hitter.
Yeah, that's what J.D. Martinez was doing a couple of homestands ago against the Angels, I believe it was.
Yeah, a lot of guys are trying to do that these days.
Does it help? See?
Well, I think they're getting a better look at the pitcher. It helps with your rhythm, your timing, and you almost feel as if you're in the batter's box. And so anytime you can see more pitches, you definitely feel more comfortable in the batter's box.
It seemed like he would work better on the other side, but I guess Souza Jr. still trying to get a good look at Verlander from his vantage point.
JB stays outside. 3 balls and 1 strike on Logan Morrison.
Yeah, he is showing Morrison a lot of respect here. And told you Morrison's numbers with runners in scoring position not very good.
They've got him shifted to the right side. Morrison singled, scored a run back in the 2nd.
But he does have 19 home runs, guys, and so on a 3-1 hitters count.
Runner goes, and it's fouled away.
Every single pitch to Morrison in this particular at-bat has been away from him, all 5 of them.
Three and two on Morrison. Leadoff single by Smith, now with 2 outs. Verlander trying to shut down the inning. Only Aaron Judge of the American League has hit more home runs than Morrison. He is second with 19. Judge has 22.
You wouldn't know that, though, because everybody keeps talking about Aaron Judge.
Runner goes again, and it's driven to center field. Ball hit well. Presley on the run, still going back, can't get it. Up against the center field wall. This will get a run in, and Morrison has made it 2-1 Tampa. That'll be his 44th RBI of the year.
The first 5 pitches of the at-bat to Morrison were all away from him, and most of those were fastballs. And then Verlander comes back with a breaking ball at 88 that he doesn't get to the direction that he wants it to get to, the location. And that ball was roped over the head of Presley for another double from Morrison and another RBI. He's had a knack for driving in guys from first.
Smith scoring with ease from first base. 12 doubles on the year for Logan Morrison.
Guys, that was his second hit off a breaking ball. He also drove a ball to center in his first at bat. So maybe that's something, Rod, he's looking for against Justin Verlander. He was late on the fastball on a 3-1 hitters count, and then he got a breaking ball there, and he was able to drive that ball to center.
Great point.
Breaking ball missed there, 1-0. Well, you got a couple of guys in this Rays lineup in Dickerson and Morrison that are setting career highs, or on pace to set career highs in the power numbers. Now Souza trying to drive in another run. Talked about how this Tampa team strikes out a lot. They lead the majors in strikeouts. They're 3rd in the majors in walks, so they're kind of a strange group.
So they walk a lot, and they hit a lot of home runs.
And they strike out a lot.
And they strike out a lot.
And it has gotten them 3 over 500 to this point. The 1-1 to left field. On the move is Upton, and he'll get there to the warning track to retire the side. Rays get a run, and they take the lead.
The big story, it was at Citi Field last night, the Mets and the Cubs, the second pitch of the game. And Curtis Granderson, our old friend, the former Tiger, sent it into the seats, his 300th career home run. So congratulations to Grandy and Mario and Rod. I'm not sure we saw that in him when he was a Tiger back in the day.
Well, he was a good player, and 300, I don't know about that. I think you're probably right, Keats.
No, I didn't see it coming, but once he was able to spend a few years playing at Yankee Stadium with that short porch down the right field line of just 314, He really started to rack up a lot of home run numbers.
Granderson hit 102 of his 300 in a Tigers uniform. Alex Avila getting it started now here in the third. Avila, Cabrera, Martinez.
And Tigers have more work to do here against Alex Cobb. Tigers trailing 2-1 here, bottom half of the third inning.
Cobb struck out Avila in his first at bat.
He got Avila on a real nice breaking ball. Alex Cobb has a couple of breaking balls. He has the one that he will throw just to get over on the first pitch of an at bat, just to get strike one. Then he's got that nasty one, that dirty breaking ball, a little harder. And the one he throws with 2 strikes and he tries to put you away on. Here comes that breaking ball now.
Simo, down in your vantage point, you've got a really good look at that hesitation on the windup by Cobb. And, you know, Rod talked about this a little bit earlier. How much is that play with the batter, or is that just something you get used to?
Well, it disrupts your timing, especially when hitting is all about rhythm and timing, getting to a good hitting position. So it makes you kind of hesitant. You're not even really sure when you need to pick that leg up, if you have a leg kick, or when to get your hands back. And it might take you one time through the batting order to kind of pick up when is a good time to start to load up to where you can get in a good position to be able to drive the baseball.
Rod, you played in Japan where there were a lot of pitchers that used the hesitation. What did you use to kind of get an advantage on that, or keep them from having an advantage?
Well, there's so many guys in Japan, and we get a look at Cobb here where he picks it up, he hesitates. What you do as a hitter is you really don't do anything until that foot starts to come down and the arm starts to get up into the window where he's going to throw it from. So if you eliminate all that stuff he's doing prior to that, you just concentrate on the hand and where he's throwing the baseball, it will help you a little bit with your timing.
Avila's gone full now, 3-2.
Everything away to Avila, and they're playing him to pull. They're leaving him a lot of room down the third baseline, a ton of room. It's gotten to the point now where they will pitch you away, and they still expect you to hit the ball to the pull field.
Swing and a miss, and he strikes out Avila for the second time tonight. By the way, tonight we are participating in the Home Run Challenge. Every home run and strikeout in this game raises money for prostate cancer research. Since June 1st, over $3.3 million has been raised in the challenge. You can make a pledge by going to homerunchallenge.org. One gone now for Cabrera. Mickey hit a ball sharply to third base that Longoria made a backhanded play on in the first. Fouled away 0-1. May 20th is the last game in which Cabrera has homered.
And Miggy getting a steady diet of fastballs lately. That last fastball by Cobb at 92 miles an hour.
Pulled fair this time, right by Longoria. Down the line, it'll be extra bases. Cabrera's on his way to second. He'll stop with a one-out double.
Yeah, the first pitch was a 92-mile-per-hour fastball, and then he came back with an off-speed pitch, the split changeup, and he left this one inside. Miguel pulled his hands inside nicely and able to get that ball right past Evan Longoria. That's a good sign there for the big fella.
Tigers have their fourth hit. It'll bring up Martinez.
Mario Rodriguez, I thought that was an interesting pitch selection there from Alex Cobb. Miggy's been late on some fastball at 92, 93, and then you throw him an 84-mile-per-hour split finger fastball, which was a really good pitch. But again, 84 speeds up the bat. Miggy's able to hit a double down the line.
I think what he was trying to do, see, is the fact that he already thrown the fastball at 92. Most guys in the big leagues, if you throw that changeup in that area where he located this one, most guys don't keep this ball fair. This ball's about 6 inches off the plate inside, and Miguel is one guy that can take that ball and keep it fair. Most guys are yanking that ball foul over there where you're at.
Right, swinging over the top of it.
So I think that's what Cobb was trying to do to get strike two, to allow Miggy to hit that ball foul down the left field line.
Cobb had gone fastball in 11 of the first 12 batters he faced, but he put a wrinkle in one to Martinez. And he does again for strike 2.
Remember, he's got a couple different breaking balls. He's got the one he'll get ahead of you with, and he's got those a couple of breaking balls that he was able to put a velo away with on those 2 strikeouts. A little harder curveball thrown by Cobb.
RBI single for Victor back of the first. Little chopper to the right side. That'll be gloved there by Martinez. V-Mart's gone. Cabrera goes to third. Hey, the Tigers host these Rays on Saturday at 4:10. Former Tigers manager Jim Leland will take part in the pregame Q&A session at 2:45. It'll be in the Big Cat Court, part of the Alumni Saturdays. For tickets, go to Tigers.com or call 866.
That video never gets
Tiger.
old, man. Him moonwalking out of the celebration. That's perfect, man. I love it.
I love the skipper.
Oh, my God.
He was great.
One of a kind.
Wears emotion on his sleeve.
He sure did.
My kind of guy.
JD Martinez had a single in the first. They're playing to pull against him. Cobb will throw for the windup. Driven to right field on a line. And over the head of the right fielder Souza. A run will score. JD to second. He's got himself a double. A rocket down the right field line.
It's really fascinating how hard JD Martinez has been hitting the ball since he came off the disabled list about a month ago. That's a fastball at 92 that's on the inner third of home plate, and he hits an absolute rocket to right field like a left-handed pull hitter. Souza nearly made an outstanding grab in the outfield, but JD Martinez gets a double and another RBI.
Right off the tip of the webbing of the glove.
As a right fielder and you have a right-handed batter in the batter's box, you're really not expecting the ball to get hit to you as hard as that ball came off the bat of JD Martinez.
First pitch curveball to Justin Upton. Now the Tigers have a chance to go ahead here with a 2-out base hit. Another breaking ball and fouled off.
It's almost like Jay Up was looking for that curveball. He knew he was going to get another one from Cobb. He popped up his first time up today on a curveball, and that time he came out of his shoes, Simo. It looked like his eyes got big. He was trying to hit it out of the ballpark.
That happens sometimes, but you have to control that and try to take that short, compact swing. I did talk to Bull Durham yesterday around the batting cage, and he told me that Jay Up's really trying to use his legs more in his swing to where he can generate some more power. And so he doesn't necessarily need to take a big swing. He can keep those hands short and compact and stay through the baseball, and the power is going to be there.
Well, he's got that leg kick where he kind of rests very comfortably on that backside, and he must be feeling that foul ball. He's still walking around in that batter's box.
One and one on Upton. Way outside.
Guys, they're down at in the camera well here, and Miggy, the big fella, even when he pulled into third base, you kind of saw him grab at his back.
Oh boy.
And then all of a sudden he's going down underneath. It's not a good sign. Let's just hope that the big fella's all right.
Here's the 2-1. Did he seem really bothered by it, Simo? It looked like he was just walking to the clubhouse there. How bad did it look?
Well, he was grimacing a little bit coming into third base. Or got a good look on the ground ball from V-Mart. So I was a little concerned. He wasn't running well. And then when I saw him come into the dugout and go downstairs, that back has continued to give him some problems.
And he missed away. 3-2 now on Upton. Castellanos on deck. .40 RBIs this year for Justin. You can see Cobb has gone inside. He's gone outside. Up and down against Joe.
A lot of curveballs.
Here's the 3-2. Outside, he lost him, ball 4. Upton gets a 2-out walk. That'll put him at first and second.
Let's take a look at Miguel on the ground ball that Victor Martinez hit. And not necessarily running all that hard over to third base. I mean, you could tell something is not quite right. One thing about Miguel, man, when he's not smiling and playing the game, he really hasn't been smiling a whole lot lately.
Agreed.
I mean, I know he's not performed all that well, but he's just not been smiling all that much. So he hasn't really been feeling all that good, I don't think, in my opinion.
Well, here's Castellanos down with 2 outs.
Castellanos loves to swing at the very first pitch, especially when he has runners in scoring position. And it doesn't really matter whether it's a curveball, changeup, or fastball. If it's a strike, he's letting it go.
Ball 1. Cobb's last start was a win over Oakland. He went 6 innings, allowing 1 run, but it was a pitcher's dream. They gave him a 13-0 lead. About halfway through that game, he was cruising in that one. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Didn't go. Oh, yes, he did. And Hickok said he went around. Yeah, he did. Close.
I think he went too.
Miggy back on the bench. That's a good sign.
Got his bat. Must be okay.
Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. One ball, 1 strike on Castellanos. Tigers have tied it on the RBI double by J.D. Martinez. Ground ball short. Knocked down. And no play. Everybody is safe. Would have gotten Cobb out of the inning, but it was booted by Robertson.
A routine ground ball here with a little top spin, jumped up on Robertson, and then by the time he looked to pick it up, instead of looking to first base, he looked to second base, and Justin Upton was hustling and made it safely to second. And give Justin a lot of credit for hustling on that ground ball.
That'll load him up now for Presley. An error charge to Robertson.
And see if the Tigers can make Alex Cobb pay here on the miscue by the shortstop.
Ground ball to short again. This time Robertson handles it. And Presley is out by half a step. Man, he can run. Tigers settled for 1 run. They do it on the rocket off the bat of J.D. Martinez. RBI double to right. 2-2 game. Limited baseball break, and here is what's going on around the big leagues. How about Anthony Rizzo, the first Cubs player to hit a leadoff home run in the first 2 career games as a leadoff hitter?
Leave it to Joe Madden. He's been struggling to score runs. He puts Rizzo in the leadoff spot and he homers twice.
Corey Kluber, 1,000 strikeouts now in his career. Ben Gamble, man, we're going to see the Mariners next on the road. He is in a good stretch right now. JV back to the hill in a 2-2 ball game. But that's a really cool shot of the ballpark.
Yes, it is.
Clouds overhead, but they're not bringing rain, fortunately. Here's the 1-0. Rasmus golfs it foul, back out of play.
And Verlander hasn't been great today with first pitch strikes. He's just 8 of 15 so far. And through the first 3 frames.
Robertson, then Martinez to follow. That'll miss outside. 2-1 on Colby Rasmus. You see now an even 50 for JV. Two and 2. Rasmus this year has 30 hits on the season, and half of those, 15, are for extra bases.
Remember that slide a few years ago when he about killed Omar Infante at second base in Toronto? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was a while back, but
I'll never forget that slide. And I'm sure Omar will never forget that slide either.
Oh, just over the head of Kinsler, who had him played in short right. Leadoff single. That was a missile off the bat of Rasmus.
It looked like he had it timed perfectly. That would be Ian Kinsler, and he was able to jump but not able to make the play. And Ian a little frustrated and that he didn't make this play. Let's take a look at it. Ooh, right off the tip of the glove.
Man. And also a look of frustration for Kinsler. That is the 3rd straight inning now. The Rays have gotten a leadoff single. In each of the last 2, they've come around to score. Robertson's ground out scored a run. That was back in the 2nd. A little bit low. 1 ball and no strikes. Robertson's seeing more playing time now. Brad Miller on the disabled list for the Rays. They've had to deal with some injuries of their own this year. Brad Boxberger on the DL. They have a Miller on the DL. They had Colby Rasmus on the disabled list.
Yeah, they're without their starting shortstop as well, Tim Beckham, who's battling some knee issues right now, who's having a really good season. Former #1 draft choice in the country, Beckham out of high school. He's finally started to figure out some things, playing some good baseball for Tampa. Sometimes it takes the high school kids a little bit longer than the college kids.
A 2-0. First overall in the country as a high schooler has to carry a lot of pressure with it as well.
No doubt about that.
And the expectation is through the roof.
That's why a lot of scouting directors, they take the safer route on draft day. They take collegiate players that have played in really good programs. They believe those guys will get to the big leagues a lot sooner than a high school kid.
3-1 now the count on Daniel Robertson.
And nothing wrong with the velocity of Verlander here tonight. 96 with that last fastball.
Fouled away. JV had an 11-pitch 1-2-3 first inning, but the last two, the Rays have battled him a little bit more.
And we talked about the Rays coming into the game and the fact that they foul off a lot of pitches. And they foul off more pitches per game than any team in baseball, nearly 29 pitches per contest. And they've already fouled off quite a few today off Verlander.
Another walk, and JV now has put the first two men on here in the fourth inning. Hey, tomorrow the Tigers battle the Tampa Bay Rays at 7:10. The first 10,000 fans receive a free Michael Fulmer Rookie of the Year bobblehead. If you'd like tickets, go to Tigers.com or call 866-66-TIGER. And my good friend Rod Allen has the Michael Fulmer bobblehead.
I'm kind of feeling this bobblehead, man.
Yeah,
I think it's a nice likeness of Michael Fulmer.
It's as good as we have seen, I think. Now, Gibby was unable to pry that Rookie of the Year plaque from him last night. You want to try?
No, I'm not going to try to take nothing from him. I'm going to let Michael Fulmer do his thing.
Fulmer will pitch Saturday in this series. Big swing by Martinez.
Yeah, we didn't know that Michael had to stay behind when the team traveled to Boston and had an MRI to check out his shoulder. I guess it was a little bursitis, and he's good to go on Saturday after throwing a bullpen yesterday.
Yeah, that's good. Things came out clean for Mr. Fulmer, and I'll tell you what, he is such a key part of this rotation. That's exactly what the Tigers were hoping for. Good news.
Definitely a sign of relief.
Another huge swing by Martinez, 0-2.
Yeah, this is nothing new for Verlander. I mean, this is pretty much what he's done since he came to the big leagues. And runners in the scoring position, he always has a little extra in his tank. He can reach back to get 97, sometimes 98, even 99 he's gotten up to this year.
Ooh, he tried to backdoor him with a breaking ball and just missed outside.
But the thing about Verlander, guys, in his last couple of outings, while he's been out on the mound, because he's walked a few, he walked 4 in his last outing, 3 already today, a lot of traffic, so he's throwing a lot of high leverage pitches. So in his last outing he threw 108, but so many of them were high leverage pitches because of the base traffic.
Well, Tampa's really making him work.
Tampa's a good baseball team, man. If the season were to end today, Tampa would be in the playoffs as a second wild card.
Well, they're in a division where really everybody just talks about the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox, and there is Tampa sitting third, 5.5 back.
Kind of like our division, where no one's really giving the Minnesota Twins the respect that they've earned so far.
He got him looking that time. He dropped in the breaking ball, and it was a dandy. 4 strikeouts now for Verlander.
And this is what sets Verlander apart. He's got 97 with the fastball, but when he grips that curveball just right and it rolls off the fingertips perfectly, he's able to drop it in there nicely for strike 3.
Here is Jesus Sucre. Struck out his only time up. A 1 hopper to second. This should be 2. There's the 4, a 6, and a 3. Double play. JV pitching out of the jam. Pitcher's best friend. The double play. It's brought to you by Bell Tire. For tires and auto service, everybody needs a Bell Tire guy. And by Chevrolet, the most awarded car company 3 years in a row. Back here at Comerica Park as we crack open a 4-game weekend series against the Rays. The Tigers and Tampa Bay going at it here. We're all knotted up. Miguel Cabrera talking with Kevin Rand now in the dugout. Saw Miggy earlier in the game go back to the clubhouse, and you can just tell that he's not right.
Nope, he's not, and it looks like Kevin is trying to really get to the bottom of it.
Problem is, Cabrera doesn't want to come out of the game, and you got to make sure he's being truthful.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, he's one of the few players that he just absolutely plays through anything.
Yeah, he has showed that over the years. Even the Triple Crown season, he had to battle through some injuries.
He's going to try to hit, looks like.
Well, for me, he just leads by example. You're not always going to feel good, but you have to find a way to be productive for your team, especially when you're a big part of this offense and this team.
I'll tell you something else regarding Miguel, guys, and I don't know if it's the back, but if it is the back, the last few days he's taken a lot of swings trying to figure out exactly why he's not performing up to the level that he's accustomed to performing.
Longoria handles this one, and Iglesias is out.
I mean, I've seen him hit in 2 groups on the field and take some swings underneath with Bull Durham and Lloyd McClendon. So he's been swinging the bat a lot, trying to figure out some things as far as the swing is concerned.
Simo, how many times throughout the course of a regular season did you show up to the ballpark and once the bell rang you felt really good, 100%, ready to go? Not very often, I would imagine.
Not very often.
First day of spring.
Yeah, maybe the first day, because then every little ache. But you just have a little maintenance program to take care of it.
And that's what amazes me, too, once the postseason rolls around. Man, you've been playing baseball for 7 months.
That extra adrenaline kicks in for the postseason.
Kinsler, the batter. Yeah, I would imagine, Simo, that adrenaline got you through in 06 during the postseason.
Oh, yes, it did.
And the crowds.
The crowd, I mean, it was amazing. The towels, and they were loud. Cameras all in your face. I mean, that was just a fun time.
They were chanting your name out there in left field.
Oh, it was awesome. Give me goosebumps thinking about it.
0-2 on Ian Kinsler. Fastball up from Cobb. Ian hit by a pitch, scored a run in the first, bounced out in the second. And he missed again. Kinsler laying off.
And here's where Cobb likes to go to the breaking ball. He's done it quite a bit already tonight, whether it be a left-hander or a right-hander. Lots of breaking balls down with 2 strikes. That time he threw Ian a 92-mile-per-hour 2-seam fastball that Ian just got a piece of. Emergency hack, and down 9-1-1.
Here, let me see that. I'll give it back. Really, I'll give it back. 2-2. Ripped foul down the left field line. Kinsler was 2 out of 9 in that series just completed against the Diamondbacks. Tigers need to win their home games, man. This is something that over the years they've done a lot of here at Comerica. Held home serve, and they need to do that again now to try and make up some ground. They're going on the West Coast trip again after this series is done. That's slapped to right field on a line, but caught by Souza. 2 gone. Hey, Saturday, kick off your Father's Day weekend with Major League Baseball on FS1 and Fox. Evan Longoria and the Rays take on Miguel Cabrera and your Tigers on FS1. And the Cubs battle the Pirates at 7 on your local Fox station. You can watch it live on FS Go.
2 up, 2 down now for Alex Avila. Couple of strikeouts for Avila.
Yeah, both of the strikeouts have come on the Cobb curveball to Avila. And there's another off-speed pitch to Alex. Obviously, that's the way that they feel like they can get him out today.
306 batting average for Alex. The 0-1. Ground ball first base side. That is a foul ball. Cobb was born in Boston, but he grew up in Vero Beach, which for many years the spring training home of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And growing up, Cobb was a bat boy in spring training for the Dodgers.
Used to be called Dodger Town.
Yeah.
It was a real nice facility. That was before all the other teams started to really build nice facilities. The Dodgers, they were in a league of their own. Them and the Kansas City Royals. The Royals just have that academy, which was very nice.
Now the 1-2. Cobb said that he admitted to this, that when he was a bat boy, that he actually lifted a pair of David Ortiz's batting gloves.
Is that right?
He just helped himself to a couple of Ortiz's batting gloves. A little souvenir. One of the perks of the job, I suppose. Here's the 2-2. And Avila rolls another one foul.
Yeah, this much we do know that, and we've seen it time and time again, the kids that get a chance to spend time around major league players at a very young age, whether their dads are players or whether they're a bat boy, like Cobb was. Those guys, when they do get into pro ball, they don't seem to be in awe of their surroundings. They feel comfortable being around the big league player because they've been around him.
Andrew Romine has talked about that. His dad was in the big leagues. Kevin Romine.
Alex Avila spent a lot of time in big league clubhouses with his dad.
Meanwhile, Cobb now has gone to 75.
It doesn't look like to me, see, that Cobb is really giving the guys anything to hit. Everything is off the plate, inside, outside, changing speeds very well so far.
He really is. He's just not giving in to the hitters. Even when they get into hitters counts, right? He's mixing that changeup. He's mixing a breaking ball, and he's definitely staying out of the middle of the plate.
Really kept him off balance.
Yes, he has.
Swung on and missed. He struck him out. Avila goes down for the 3rd time on strikes. Simo, we'll let you get ready for postgame. Thanks, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys.
Still tied at 2 after 4.
Rays, they foul off a lot of pitches. Here's what the left-handers have been able to do against Verlander. Mostly fastballs that are getting fouled off. Those are 3 fastballs, 4 fastballs. When he does throw the breaking ball, he tends to get swings and misses, or he gets soft contact. Fastballs are getting fouled off. Breaking balls are being put in play. That's one of the reasons why I said earlier today he might want to go to a few more off-speed pitches to get more contact.
Well, JV facing the top of the lineup now as we go to the 5th inning. It'll be Smith, Dickerson, Longoria.
And we talked about Smith earlier. If you weren't with us, he's one guy you want to keep off the base paths, and he loves to bunt for hits.
The Rays have gotten the leadoff man on each of the last 3 innings. Twice they've scored him. Smith had a single to start the 3rd and scored. Kevin Kiermaier is a really good player and a very well-respected defensive player in the American League. But this kid right here is getting a chance to play, Rod, and he's taking the most advantage of it here.
He's got the one tool that never goes into a slump, and that's unbelievable speed. And this guy is one of the fastest running from that side of the batter's box in the major leagues. They clocked him on a bunt, I believe, a few days ago at 3.60 getting down the line. It's one of the fastest times recorded by one of their batters since the year 2015.
Verlander down with the 2-2. Fouled away.
Here's that bunt we were talking about with Smith just a few days ago. He's already bunted 3 times.
We'll get you to it. First the 2-2. 3-2.
Here's Smith and how fast he gets down the line on a bunt. From the time the ball makes contact with the bat to the time he touches the bag, 3.60 seconds, 3.5, which is almost impossible for them to throw guys out. And the ball got away, and he was able to get all the way to 3rd base.
Got him looking, strike 3. 1 gone. We check in now with Matt Shepard.
Mario, Corey Dickerson striding to the plate now for the 3rd time today, and this is a guy who's batting .335 coming into the game. That's almost 100 points higher than it was a year ago. I talked to him prior to tonight's matchup, and I asked him what's the reason for his resurgence, and he said, I lost 25 pounds, a lot because of diet and exercise, but also a very old-style, unique way of getting himself focused for at-bats. Remember Len Cicada, guys, who used to play for the Baltimore Orioles? Len Cicada was with him at single A. And he uses a technique where he stands on a 2x4, his heels hang off the edge, and he hits off a tee that way. It helps him with his balance. Now, it's really helped him with his power numbers, too, but it's really helped him with his balance. Anytime he feels like he's getting out of sorts, he goes back to the 2x4 and starts hitting off some real wood.
That's a great story, Shep.
Isn't balance what it's all about, Rod?
Absolutely. Yeah, on the balls of your feet, balance throughout your swing. He's had a great swing all year.
Popped up. Middle of the infield. And that'll be out number 2. Well, Menards brings you the big money encounter. We want to look at some AL ranks for Corey Dickerson. First in hits, extra base hits, total bases. He is at the top or near the top in most categories.
And when the Rays made the deal to bring him over from Colorado, he had hit 300 in Colorado, and a lot of people don't necessarily buy into the Colorado numbers, and they were wondering whether those numbers would translate down to Tampa for Dickerson, and they clearly have. He's performing better in Tampa than he did when he was playing for the Colorado Rockies.
There's a base hit for Longoria. 2-out single.
And they've had base runners every inning.
And here's a guy they haven't been able to get out. That would be Logan Morrison, a single, double, and an RBI.
And there's that guy on first base again for Morrison.
Last time he doubled to center field to knock home Smith.
Remember how when Jim would always get asked the question about on-base percentage and batting average, he says, you know what, give me a few guys that can drive that guy in from first base. I don't care about the on-base percentage. I don't care about batting average. Just give me a couple of guys that can drive guys in from first.
Yeah, but you got to deliver that line with the arms flapping. That's what the skip always used to do. Those two arms just go flying out.
He might join us tomorrow, I heard.
Can't wait. We'll be in town for the alumni weekend Saturday. He's going to be part of the Alumni Saturdays. We brought back a lot of former Tigers.
He is one of the more honest managers you could ever meet in a game. He was very honest with his players, very honest with us.
Two-two game. We're here in the fifth. The Rays have a man on, 2 men out. Morrison looks at a ball outside. Now it's gone 3-0.
And take a look at Morrison's hot and cold zone. I mean, that's one of the reasons why he's batting just .245 and his batting average is under 200 with runners in scoring position. There's a lot of cold on their partner.
You know, for a guy that has 19 homers, that is a lot of blue.
I mean, really down the middle, he's hitting .432, and then down the middle, he's hitting .350. Other than that, numbers not real good for Logan.
Took a rip on 3-0 there. At 96 from Verlander, 3-1. Have you seen or noticed more guys swinging lately at 3-0 pitches around the league, or is that just me kind of imagining that?
I think in the last week or so we've noticed quite a few guys doing it. We've already seen it twice today. Victor Martinez took a swing at a 3-0 pitch and singled and drove in a run, and we just saw Morrison and swinging a 3-0 pitch.
Walked him.
That's 4 walks again today for Justin Verlander.
Well, he appeared to be tippy-toeing around Morrison. Now he's going to deal with Sousa with 2 men on, 2 men out. Walking a fly ball. To this point, none of the walks have come around to score to hurt Verlander. Each ball club 2 runs on 5 hits in this game. This will be a 4-game weekend series.
And Verlander called out the catcher, Alex Avila, to have a conversation just to see exactly how they want to go after. And Steven Souza Jr.
Sousa came up in the Nats organization in the National League with Washington. In fact, he was drafted as a third baseman, then moved to the outfield a couple of years ago.
He made that really nice catch to preserve a no-hitter thrown by Jordan Zimmerman when Jordan Zimmerman was wearing the Nationals uniform. It was a circus catch, and it was the final out of the game.
That's what made it extra special.
I'm sure that catch that Jordan will never ever forget.
Meanwhile, Verlander falling behind again, this time with 2 men on here. And 2 outs. We're in the 5th. Strike called on the outside corner. Got the call there.
It's a good fastball at 96, away from the arm side, on the black, right at the knees.
Rally started with Longoria singling with 2 outs, and then Morrison walked. Swing and a miss. Good hard fastball there at 96. Justin has gone at least 100 pitches in every start, everyone but 2 this year.
He might just come back with another fastball here at 97.
did, but he missed with it high. Level the count now, 2-2 on Souza. Rasmus waiting on deck. Swing and a miss. He went up top and he struck him out. 6 strikeouts for JV. They will strand 2. 2-2 ball game. You're watching Tigers baseball. Presented by Bell Tire. The bottom of the 5th, and this Sunday the Tigers take on these Rays. 1:10 p.m. All men receive a free pair of Tigers Father's Day socks. If you'd like tickets, go to tigers.com or call 866-66-TIGER. Another gorgeous night here in the Motor City. The Tigers starting a 4-game weekend set here against the Rays. It's going to be Miguel Cabrera to get things started. Cobb goes back to work. And Miggy bends away from a breaking ball strike.
You gonna wear your socks on Sunday?
I will if you will.
Huh?
Are you gonna show them off?
Hey, they match. Got a little orange, a little blue in there.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Fouled back out of play.
And got Dunkin' Donuts on there too. Little Argyle, it's tight now, you know what I mean? You can wear your little orange tie, blue tie, you know what I mean? Nice blue suit, mix it up.
Yeah, you are the fashionista, so I expect you to wear those. I'm not quite at your level yet.
This will give you a head start.
Yeah. It'll do that. 0-2 on Miggy. Martinez, then Martinez to follow. Did he go? No. Negative, did not.
And we'll see if Cobb still thinks that he can get a fastball by Miguel. And we've seen Miguel get lots of fastballs lately. He did double today on a changeup down the third baseline. Other than that, he's gotten a lot of fastballs and curveballs from Cobb so far.
Pulled on the ground right to Longoria. Tricky hop, stayed with it though. Everything that Miggy has hit today has been hit sharply to third.
Yeah, he almost killed Longoria on that one. It's a hanging breaking ball that Miguel just absolutely hits right on the screws. And a nice job there by Longoria with the glove. And to reach up and make that play. He's a good defender down at third.
One away for Victor Martinez. Total of 80 now for Cobb.
And lots of slow stuff to Victor his last time up.
Little chopper back up the middle. Into center field, a base hit. A seeing-eyed single for Victor, his second hit.
And Victor got a fastball right over the head of the jumping pitcher Alex Cobb into center field.
It'll bring up J.D. Martinez. It's been a good night for J.D. A single, a double, an RBI.
Had a nice conversation with J.D. Martinez a few days back in the Tigers clubhouse, and he was talking about how he swings the bat and his launch angle. He was talking about every single swing he takes, he's trying to get the ball airborne. He does not want to hit line drives. He does not want to hit ground balls. Every single swing, he wants that type of swing to give him the launch angle, to give him fly balls, not line drives, not ground balls.
Well, he has launched 11 home runs this year, and he nearly hit one out last night. It was knocked out by the wind. Otherwise, probably would have been an opposite field homer. Bounce again, 2 balls, no strikes. When you look at his June numbers, he has knocked in 25 in 30 games.
And his hard ball hit rate is simply off the chain. And maybe only the kid Aaron Judge hitting balls harder than J.D. Martinez these days.
And Cobb now falls behind 3-0.
That's a good take right there by J.D. Outstanding take. Here's that 3-0 count again, but I don't think J.D. will be swinging.
Three and one on Martinez. Two runs on 6 Tigers hits, 2 runs on 5 hits for the Rays. Three, 2. Cobb tonight making his 100th big league start. Only 7 Rays have done that in their brief history.
James Shields, David Price leads that list.
Cobb will be a free agent following this season, therefore his name has come up a little bit. But I mean, these Rays right now, as you mentioned, Rod, have a playoff spot.
Yeah, they're 3 games over 500.
Martinez staying alive. That one bit Sucre. When you look at all the pitchers that the Rays have traded over the last couple of years, guys like Hellickson and Smiley and Price and Moore,
Shields,
Nate Carnes. I mean, they kept churning out pitchers for a while there, but they have dealt them away. Don't know if Cobb will be the next, but he's a free agent following this year. 3-2 on Martinez. They play him to pull on the infield. Got a piece of it again.
Yeah, 2-seam fastball that Cobb got inside on J.D. Martinez, and he fouled it right off the left instep. A lot of room on the right side of the infield, but J.D. Martinez is not trying to hit a single here. He's trying to find a gap that might score Victor.
One on, one out.
Pretty much all fastballs by Cobb.
Toward the shortstop. Great pick there. They'll go to second one, and the relay is a double play.
Finally a breaking ball and an outstanding play by the shortstop Robertson to start the double play.
6-4-3, the backhanded short hop pick. It's a good play right here by Robertson. And a good turn.
Tampa Rays got on the board early in this contest. They've also pushed another run across the board. They now have 2. The Tigers have all scored a couple of runs, one on a base hit by Victor Martinez and the other on a double by J.D. Martinez off the glove of Souza Jr. in right field, and that's where we sit 2-2.
Tight one here as Verlander goes back to the mound in the 6th. He's got Colby Rasmus to lead it off. Tigers have 6 hits, Rays have 5. And Justin back to work. Rasmus a single and a ground out in this ball game. Colby at 279 on the year. And he'll take ball 1, missing outside. Rasmus now a 7-game hitting streak. Stops in St. Louis, Toronto, and Houston prior to his time here with the Rays. Now the 1-0.
He probably had his best year offensively all around in 2013 when he was playing for the Toronto Blue Jays, and their hitting coach at the time is the current hitting coach for the Rays right now, Chad Mottola. And so they're familiar with one another.
Here's the 1-1. It's amazing how guys move around the league, and there's always some kind of connection somewhere in their histories.
And I'm sure that they asked Chad about him before signing him, and he probably gave an approval. They might have had a really nice working relationship in the time they were together in Toronto.
Here's the 2-1. Pulled and into right field, right through the shift.
He beat the shift.
Leadoff single. Hey, somebody apparently has taken some batting practice, and his name is Matt Shepard.
Really? Look out, Shep.
Mario, the other day I was out there pitching with Simo, okay? And so I decided to come to right field, section 105,
Yeah.
and see what's going on here with the batting cage. All right? Pulled one down the left field line there for a triple. I marked it about 90 miles an hour here. Oh, got me off balance a little bit there. So they're throwing some sliders, a little bit of curves, but this is a really cool thing. You know, there's some there's some T-balls over here, and you can do that if you're a little bit of a pansy. I've decided, even at my age, to get in this cage in front of all these people who are standing around with a good chuckle and a beer and kind of embarrass myself. There's a good one.
Hey, use your pivot foot, Shep. Use your pivot foot.
I was thinking about this, you know, just doing what Logan Morrison was doing the other day. That wasn't bad, Rod. That wasn't bad.
That wasn't bad.
The next one that comes at me, you know what I'm doing?
You going yard?
I'm doing what you did in Japan.
Shep done had too much coffee.
Did you see him step in the bucket on every pitch?
I did. You gotta love it.
Holy Shep.
You gotta love it.
This is a triple down the left field line, he says.
Yeah, he did.
1 ball and 1 strike on Robertson. Only Shep would charge the pitcher in a batting cage.
With no pitcher in.
With no pitcher.
He charged the batting. He charged the pitching machine.
Charge the Iron Mike. Now JV with the 1-1. In there, a strike called 1-2 on Robertson.
I like that fastball down and by Verlander. Those are the kind of pitches when you go down at the bottom of the strike zone with good fastballs, and then you back that up with good changeups or breaking balls. That's when hitters are off balance. That's when they're prone to roll over something and give you the ground ball that you're looking for.
Rays have had traffic in every inning but the first tonight. It'll dive low. JV got him 1, 2, 3 in the first, but they've had base runners galore tonight.
And Justin still throwing hard. 92 pitches in. Just about every fastball today has been 95 miles an hour and above.
Robertson, a little chopper to second, might be 2. Kinsler tags the runner 1, and there's a double play. Nicely done by Ian. 2 gone.
Verlander, whenever he wants to, he can induce contact with his off-speed stuff. This time he gets a breaking ball, and it's down in the strike zone. You see it come off, and the ball's located down in the strike zone, and you can see the knees buckle of Robertson, so he's fooled. Nice play here by Kinsler applying the tag and then finishing the double play himself.
Second double play that Verlander has gotten. Ian applying the quick tag and then relaying to first. Here's Martinez. Ball one. Michael Martinez, a base on balls in the second, struck out his last time out. Now the 1-0 pitch. Martinez designated by the Indians earlier this year. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, some of his stops. One ball, two strikes. Thought about it. Martinez is one of those guys who can play anywhere. In fact, in his major league career, he's played every position with the exception of first and catch. Versatility has kept him around and has provided him big league opportunities.
He's very valuable for Cleveland last year.
In the air to center. Going to be routine for Presley. That'll end the inning. No runs, a single, nobody left. And Matt Shepard showing up. Look at this stroke.
It's a seed, man.
Define seed. And now he charges them up.
So much talk about launch angle. Well, in a game tonight involving the Nationals and the Mets, there was none of that. No launch angle, as Bryce Harper took that out at 116 miles an hour to put the Nats up 1-0 on the Mets. Washington leads at 8-2 in the seventh. Mario, Rod?
Boy, I haven't seen anything hit harder than that, or not many. There might be a few. I think one was 121. So
yeah, Judge is the only other guy.
Harper can play, man. Here's a pop-up off the bat of Upton in the shallow right field, and it's going to be caught by the second baseman, Martinez.
It's to the point now where Justin, when he goes up, he knows he's going to get that breaking ball now, and that one he was just underneath. How about that sky up there? You got to really help out the infielders and outfielders on pop-ups. You got to point them out.
Menacing looking. There's Castellanos. Nick reaching on an error in his last at bat. Tigers scored a run in the third that tied the game, but they loaded the bases, and that's all they could get. Ball one. Cobb really hasn't been all that dominating tonight, Rob, but he just kind of found a way to bob and weave through the lineup.
Yeah, he falls behind guys. He goes to off-speed pitches. Then when he gets ahead of guys, he goes to that two-seam fastball. He's only been up to about 93 today, but he's moved the fastball around. He stayed off the barrel of the bat. Hardest ball hit today, the ball that JD hit. And this Tigers offense is way too good for just 6 hits today.
Now the 1-1. Bending inside, 2 balls and 1 strike on Castellanos. Presley on deck. To right field, Sousa going back. 2 gone. Hey, for the latest episode of the 313, a video series brought to you by Ram Trucks, it takes a fun look at the local sports and pop culture scene. Go to the313.com. Now with 2 outs, here is Alex Presley. Fly out, ground out for Presley, 0 for 2. Ball 1. Presley earlier this year when he was in the minor leagues with Toledo hit for the cycle. Came in batting over 300 here in the month of June. Providing an option, left-handed batting option for center field.
Also gives the Tigers the element of speed. Alex can run.
Funny how that center field position has kind of evolved over the years, or the year rather, for the Tigers. Jacoby Jones looked strong early on, then Collins had a shot. They're both in the minor leagues now. Wave and a miss, 1-2.
Yeah, no one has really been able to take the center field position and run with it.
There's Mikey Matuk, who has had a nice month of June. Here's the 1-2.
Tigers really haven't had an everyday center fielder out there since Jackson left, haven't they? I mean, everyday center fielder.
Yeah, well, Maven, I think, was going to be that guy last year, but he was on the DL a lot. Here's the 2-2. Slice to left center field. That's going to get down. He might try for 2. Now it's going to be fumbled out there by Smith, and Presley gets all the way to second.
Smith will do that quite often in the outfield. It's not the first time he's done it since he's been called up. He has such good speed and he thinks he can get to everything, and then by the time he realizes he can't make the play, he's gotten too close to the baseball, and then the ball just simply trickles away from him and he gives up an extra base here to Presley. That should be a single. He plays it into a double or an air.
2-base hit. Cobb frustrated. And they'll bring up Iglesias now. Tigers again a base hit away from claiming the lead. Jose had a double back in the second and now has hit safely in 6 in a row.
He has been a very tough at bat the entire month of June. He is batting over 400.
Martinez, the second baseman, is hanging around toward the bag to try and keep Presley close, which has really opened up the opposite side.
Well, he also knows that the outfielders can play very shallow, as all 3 outfielders are playing right now. You can see all the guys out in the outfield. All 3 playing a lot shallower than they normally would play, with Iglesias in the batter's box. And if Iglesias does get a hit, and the fact that Martinez is keeping Presley so close, they might have a chance at throwing him out at home plate.
One ball and one strike.
I was talking to Dave Clark yesterday, actually, and he was talking about the arms of their outfielders. Rasmussen left above average, Smith in center average big league arm, and Sousa in right field above average arm.
Chopper right back to the mound. And that'll end the inning. No runs. They get a double and strand a man as we go to the 7th. Justin Verlander will answer the bell in a 2-2 game. Tigers and Rays still tied at 2 runs apiece. It has been tied since the 3rd in this game. And Justin Verlander going back to the hill facing Jesus Sucre, the number 9 hitter for the Rays. And Sucre looks at a vendor in for a strike, 0-1. 2 runs on 6 Tampa hits, 2 runs on 7 hits for the Tigers. JV about to throw his 100th of the night, and it's on the ground with the shortstop Iglesias. 1 gone. There's the ratio on Verlander through 100. 58 strikes. JV has walked 4 batters in this game.
He had 26 foul balls off of pitches that Verlander threw in his last outing. Only 16 so far tonight and for Tampa. So whatever he worked on in his side session at cutting down foul balls, it has worked here today.
Daniel Stump is warming up.
Any opportunity that Brad has to bring in a left-hander, he will do that against Tampa. They don't do as well against lefties. They're a good team against right-handed pitching, but not so much against lefties.
Rays this year 27-18 against right-handed pitchers. Mallex Smith the batter with 1 out. That'll miss outside. Smith a single in 3 at bats. He struck out in his last at bat. Outside again. Don't want to walk him.
If he does, it might be his last batter, with Dickerson standing in the on-deck circle being a left-handed batter. Not that Verlander can't get him out, but they've got a left-hander that is hot right now.
Walked him.
Decision time now for Brad Ausmus.
5 walks for JV.
Let's take a look at our Bell Tire pitch by pitch. And one of the things that Verlander has been able to do today, and that's limit the foul balls against him. And that's because he's gotten some easy, soft contact on a lot of the off-speed stuff. And then once he gets the Rays looking for the off-speed stuff, he's been able to throw some fastballs by some of these guys. And when not doing that, he's gotten himself a couple of ground ball double plays. So nice outing today for Justin Verlander. The one thing that he hasn't gotten from his teammates really all year is any run support whatsoever.
Brad out there on the mound chatting with Verlander. Home plate umpire is out there now. It's Ben May. Dickerson, the hitter, due next. They're going to stay with JV. And I wonder if part of this decision, Rod, is the fact that Dickerson bats .337 against lefties.
He does have really good numbers against left-handers, and Verlander's kind of had his number today. He's got him to pop up weekly, and he also got him to strike out once in the game. If you look at the hot and cold zones of Corey Dickerson, there's really only one place to get him out, and that's with fastballs or breaking balls off the outside part of the plate. You don't want to come inside against Corey. And the one thing Verlander's done today, fastballs away and changeups away, and he's been able to handle him. They're going back outside again. We'll show you why.
Got the benefit of the call there.
And take a look at the hot and cold zones here. He's been clobbering the ball all year long.
Rain starting to fall now here at the ballpark. 2-2 in the 7th, 1 on, 1 out. Bouncing ball, diving stop. Castellanos throws to force, and a terrific play by Nick.
It really was.
Ball was headed down the line. That could have been trouble.
And one step and a dive for Castellanos. Then he comes up and fires the ball to Kinsler. Kinsler has to make a really nice play. It wasn't a great throw by Nick, but Ian making a nice catch there to get Smith before he slides in.
So Dickerson aboard on the fielder's choice. That'll bring up Longoria with 2 outs. One for 3 tonight for Longoria, single. Driven foul, back out of play, 0-1. Justin has thrown as many as 119 in a start. That was earlier this year against Cleveland. I beg your pardon, against Seattle. 108 right now. Now the 0-1. 0-2 on Longoria.
Good curveball there thrown at Verlander at 80 miles an hour.
Now the 2-strike pitch did not go. Ed Hickok said that he held up. 1-2 now on Longoria.
Now he's got Longoria set up for a fastball if he wants to throw the fastball here. You have to locate it. It's got to be a firm fastball, 95 and above. And the only reason why I say that is because he's already thrown Longoria a bunch of breaking balls, and if he hangs one, there's no doubt Longoria is going to hit that pitch hard somewhere. Fastball might get you strikeout looking.
Runner goes, then a bouncing ball to short. Iglesias gobbles it up. Longoria is out, and the inning is over. Verlander pitching around a 1-out walk.
Still tied at 2, and coming up, the Consumers Energy 7th inning stretch.
Call Sam call of the game. Ian Kinsler led off the game. He was hit by Alex Cobb. He promptly stole second base. Then he came around to score on the 2-out base hit by Victor Martinez. The Tigers took the lead in the very first inning against Alex Cobb.
Cobb now will face the top of the Tigers lineup. It'll be Kinsler, Avila, Cabrera. Outstanding work tonight from Verlander, pitching around some walks, but he's given up only 2 runs. Kinsler sends a ground ball up the middle. Long run, knocked down, no play for Martinez. Leadoff man on.
And that's where the overshift may have cost the Tampa Bay Rays. Martinez playing up the middle, and that ball hit right where the second baseman is normally playing, and he didn't want to leave his feet, because if he leaves his feet, that would allow Ian Kinsler to make it safely at first base. You see where he starts out at. And so he stays up and he doesn't make the play.
Go ahead run aboard on now for the Tigers. That'll bring up Avila, who has struck out 3 times in this game. Cobb has had his numbers so far. The average is .304 for Alex. Kinsler drawing a throw.
Ian has already stolen the base today, and he stole that base standing up. He had such a great jump back in the first inning.
It was his 3rd of the year. One ball, no strikes on Avila. Cobb right now has gone beyond 100. He's at 104, and he's going to have to deal with the middle of the Tigers lineup here. Looks like they're just starting to get some activity in the Tampa Bay bullpen. Here's the 1-0. And it's inside. 2-0. Look who's warming up, right? Jumbo.
Jumbo Diaz. Jumbo, big boy.
That's why it's called Jumbo.
Yeah.
2-0 on Avila. They've got him played to pull on the right side. Now 2-1 on Alex. JV right now hoping his teammates can get him a run or more.
Yeah, last couple of times Verlander has gone out there, he is taking no decisions. And if the Tigers don't score one here for him, it'll be another no decision for the Tigers ace.
JV does not have a win since May the 20th against the Rangers here. Went 7 innings, giving up 3 runs against Texas. Avila waiting on a 2-1. Two and 2 on Avila. Cabrera on deck. Neither team has a run in this game since the 3rd when the Rays were leading 2-1. Tigers tied it up on the J.D. Martinez RBI double to right.
Alex really going to have to concentrate here with 2 strikes. He's gotten a lot of curveballs already today from Cobb. And no doubt Cobb might try to go back to that curveball one more time against Avila. He's been successful with that pitch all night. Meanwhile, if you're Ian Kinsler and you think you might be throwing another breaking ball, it would be a real nice pitch to run on. Steal your second base of the game. Nice healthy lead for Ian Kinsler at first.
Missed it low, now 3-2.
And decision time now for Brad. Alex has already struck out 3 times. Ian, if you allow him to run, if Alex strikes out again, Sucre will get a good throw down to second. And we'll see what Brad decides.
Runner holds and a walk to Avila. That'll put the first 2 men on. Well, we remind you to vote today, vote tomorrow, and vote Tigers for your 2017 All-Stars with the Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot. Vote at tigers.com/vote and catch all of the excitement of the 88th Major League Baseball All-Star Game presented by MasterCard July 11th, live on Fox. Now Cobb is in some hot water here. 2 on, nobody out in the middle of the Tigers lineup, and he's got Kevin Cash pacing. And Diaz warming up in their bullpen.
Yeah, Miggy's hit a couple of balls hard tonight. One for a double down the third baseline, and then his last time up, he hit a rocket right at the third baseman Longoria. Longoria was able to make a play, and so Cobb has forced Miguel into pulling the ball so far here tonight.
Spins away from ball 1 inside.
Yeah, Miggy's got a nice hole on the right side of the infield should he be trying to go in that direction again. And Logan Morrison, the first baseman, playing about 20 feet off that first base line.
115 is the most that Cobb has thrown in a game. He's at 110 right now. Bender that misses inside. 2-0. And the plot thickens now for Cobb. Cabrera doubled and scored the game-tying run back in the 3rd. Here's the 2-0. Miggy sends a ground ball foul to third base.
RBIs tonight for the Tigers. Martinez, Victor that is, and JD. Leadoff single by Kinsler, and then Avila walked. Swing and a miss. 2-2 on Miguel Cabrera.
93 with that fastball by Cobb. Up and into Miguel. That probably was not a strike. Yeah, but that's where a lot of pitchers have taken the liberty of pitching to Miguel lately. Fastballs on the inner third, most of those up in the strike zone. Everything to Miguel in this pitch sequence has been inside.
Just got a piece of that one to stay alive. Again, he busted him in.
Well, it's got to the point now that Miguel understands how teams are trying to pitch him, and he knows they're going inside with fastballs, and because he knows they're going in there, sometimes he'll still try to get to pitches that he shouldn't be swinging at, that are 3 or 4 inches off the plate, because he's already anticipating fastballs in.
That last one was way in on his hands, and he got a piece. Went away that time, and he fouled it back. 2-2.
And Mickey almost made it pay, too, with that 92-mile-per-hour fastball. That had right center field gap written all over it.
Cabrera now has hit safely in 5 in a row. Tied Al Kaline a couple of nights ago for 41st all-time in the RBI list.
Getting ready to fly right by him now.
Bouncing ball to third. Longoria. He'll go to second. There's one. Relay. There's two.
Mickey has been playing pepper with Longoria at third base all night long.
5-4-3. That'll leave a runner at third with 2 outs. And that's going to be it for Cobb, who gets a huge double play ball from Cabrera. So Cobb gets the handshake. He'll depart. Wallside windows pitching change. We'll be back.
The Cobb going after Miguel. First pitch fastball inside. Now he comes with a breaking ball here. Now every pitch after this is going to be a fastball. Just about every fastball inside. He does go back outside with 2 strikes on 1 fastball. Mickey just missed. That was that one. Then he goes right back inside with another fastball to tie Miguel up at 92 miles an hour. Miguel hits into the 7th double play of the year. Mickey's starting to get a little frustrated.
Here's the starters comparison in this game. Verlander and Cobb. JV 7, giving up 6 hits, 2 runs, walked 5 in this game.
I think that'll be the one number that Verlander will be the most concerned about. And when you ask him about his performance today.
Cobb, meanwhile, gives way to Jumbo Diaz.
And Jumbo pitching in his 23rd game this year. The ERA is over 5. The WHIP is over a 1.5. He does have 18 strikeouts, but he has walked 12.
Martinez looks at a strike, 0-1.
Jumbo looking like he ought to be in minicamp somewhere for one of them NFL teams. You think?
There's K-Rod warming up. Yeah. He's at about 3 bills. He has given up 2 homers this year, both to left-handed batters. There's the ball low. Jumbo Diaz, a native of the Dominican Republic, has big league time with Cincinnati. And now the Rays.
He also pitched in the World Baseball Classic for Dominican Republic.
Here's the 1-1. Two singles and RBI for V-Mart. 7 hits shy now of 2,000 for Martinez.
And Jumbo has a big arm. His fastball, it can get all the way up to 98, 99. He throws a lot of sliders. And pretty much just a 2-pitch pitcher. Fastball, slider.
Ground ball, foul ball, first base side, 2-2. Diaz for Cobb here, who gave up a single and a walk, but then got a big double play off the bat of Miguel Cabrera. V-Mart trying to deliver the go-ahead run here in the 7th with 2 outs.
Yeah, he's already driven in 1 run today with 2 outs. That came back in the 1st when he drove in Ian Kinsler.
Little number foul, an emergency hack to spoil that pitch.
To say the least, at 98 miles an hour. And you go from one guy throwing 92 to one guy throwing 98. That ball got on Victor in a hurry. He took that right out of the catcher's mitt.
Rays bullpen ERA is over 4.16 coming in. And again, the 2-2. Bouncing ball left side of the infield. Robertson falls down. It goes under his glove, and the Tigers will take the lead.
What in the world?
What appeared to be a routine ground ball out to end the inning, and the Tigers now lead 3-2. I have no idea what happened there. Did he just slip?
I don't know what he did there, Mark. Looked like he was trying to get around it and make the play easier for him, and the ball just kind of stayed down and went right under the glove. That's why they always tell you as an infielder, get your glove down on the ground, get your glove down. That way you don't have to try to make the adjustment to get your glove to the ground if the ball stays down. That ball stayed down on him, and he couldn't make the adjustment with the glove.
E6, and the Tigers have a 1-run lead.
And Victor Dunn is a pinch runner.
Dixon Machado will come out to pinch run for Martinez.
Looked like he was trying to circle the ball, and he may have slipped as well. But you still have to get that glove down on the ground and make the adjustment up with the glove.
Just an odd looking play.
Verlander in line to get a win here. If they can hold on.
JD, single, double RBI. It's a 2-error night for the shortstop Robertson. Ball high from Diaz. 1 ball, 1 strike. Tigers get their first run since Martinez doubled one in back in the 3rd. Threw him a slider and JD pounded it foul. 1-2.
Yeah, JD would like to have that slider back. It was 86 and it was hanging right down the middle of the plate. He had a great swing at it.
Look at the Tiger box score. Playing to pull on Martinez. Here's the 1-2. Just off the plate inside. So that run will be charged to the starter Cobb. Unearned run. Popped up. First base side for Logan Morrison. And that will end the inning. Tigers go ahead though on the air by Robertson. You're watching Tigers baseball presented by Bell Tire. Sports Detroit is brought to you by Comerica Bank, a part of Detroit and the community since 1849. Your Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. Visit ChevyDetroit.com. See why Chevy drives the Motor City. And by Wallside Windows, we can do that. We are the factory. Tigers have grabbed the lead as we go now to the 8th inning here in Comerica Park. It's going to be Logan Morrison to lead things off in a 1-run game, and he will face, in a Wallside Windows pitching change, Francisco Rodriguez.
And Rodriguez has pitched much better baseball lately. As a matter of fact, in his last 5 outings, he has not given up 1 run, logging 4 1/3 innings. A fastball at 90-91, which gives him a lot more separation with the changeup when he's throwing it at 80-81 miles an hour. Also, a curveball thrown by Rodriguez on occasion.
So here is Morrison, Sousa to follow, and then Rasmus. 3 runs, 8 Tigers hits, 2 runs and 6 hits for the Rays. And Morrison looks at a strike. He's had a big night, single, double, walk, RBI. Not very good against K-Rod though, 0 for 8 with 2 strikeouts. Here's the 0-1.
And with each positive outing that Rodriguez has had lately, it continues to earn him more and more high leverage situations.
Frankie recently had some comments in the press about how the Tigers have handled his situation. He has gone out in the month of June and put up a lot of zeros. We know that. That ball hammered to left field. Down the move is Upton, still going back to the track to make the catch.
Here's what Rodriguez has been able to do in the month of June. First of all, first pitch strikes. He's rediscovered his fastball and not afraid to throw that fastball over the plate. Now when you get your fastball up to 90, 91, and when you throw that changeup at 82 miles an hour, you get swings and misses because you now have the separation in between the fastball and the changeups. But the key is the rediscovered confidence in the heater.
And here are the numbers this month for Francisco. Opponents batting just 143 against him. 4 1/3 scoreless with 4 strikeouts. It'll drop in high, 1 ball and no strikes.
And that's something that Rodriguez will do. He will throw changeups at the top of the strike zone by design. There's some that he will throw at the bottom of the zone by design as well. Depends on the hitter and the hitter's strengths and weaknesses.
Swung on and belted. Way back to left field and way gone. We are tied.
12th home run of the year by Souza Jr.
RBI number 39 on the season, and just like that, it's a 3-3 game.
And there wasn't nothing cheap about that home run either.
Well, we told you they hit a lot of home runs. There's another one. It's a big one. Rodriguez now has given up 7 home runs in 22 innings.
Yeah, lead didn't last very long.
Here's Colby Rasmus. Even the ball that Morrison hit was hit to the warning track in left field. Ball 1 outside to Rasmus.
And Frankie frustrated. He knew as soon as he let that one go that the ending wasn't going to be pretty. It was an 80-mile-per-hour changeup that he missed right over the heart of the plate with.
Well, they came in with 103 home runs, which was second most, tied for second most in the majors. And they lead Major League Baseball with 56 of those home runs on the road, including the one here tonight. Here's the 1-1. 1-2 on Rasmus.
Looked like Rasmus was taking all the way on that 1-1 delivery from Rodriguez.
Couple of base hits.
He threw Souza Jr. back-to-back changeups. The first one was high, and the second one looked like Souza Jr. was sitting there waiting for it.
Rasmus with singles in the 4th and 6th innings. And that'll dive low. Not a whole lot of history here. 0 for 1, a strikeout. Souza's 12th home run of the year has tied it up. 3-3 game. That's drilled to right field on a line. JD can't get it over his head. It'll bang up against the wall, and Rasmus will go to second. He's going to pull in there with a double.
And JD got a pretty nice jump on this ball. Took one leap once he got there, but the ball hit so hard right over the head of Martinez, right over the outstretched glove.
3 hard hit balls greeting K-Rod here, and now Rich Doobie coming out.
And no activity in Tigers bullpen as of yet. And now they're getting someone up.
Here is the upcoming matchup presented by Wallside Windows. And in game 2 tomorrow, it's going to be Erasmo Ramirez and Daniel Norris getting together.
And we told you that the Rays have struggled this year against left-handed pitching. They're 8-16. They're good against righties, but struggle against left-handers. Maybe Daniel will have his way. And tomorrow night against the Rays, he also pitched very well in his last outing in Boston and got a win in that game.
Wilson, Alex in the bullpen. Here is Daniel Robertson.
Got to keep a close eye on Rasmus at second base. Not a base stealer by trade, but he is a pretty good heads-up baseball player and has the ability to take third if you forget about him.
Still on the bench for the Rays, and we're getting toward the bottom of their lineup. They have Beckham, Borges, Featherston, and Norris, all right-handed batters. Robertson had a walk. He's got an RBI. He's also bounced into a double play. Ground ball left side. Castellanos cuts it off, and Robertson is out. Runner holds. 2 gone. And when Martinez due up, he's not going to bat. Tim Beckham will. Beckham will pinch hit for Martinez. And this kid's having the best year of his career.
He really is. Took him a long time. And what we call a late bloomer in the game. High school player. Finally realizing the talent that the Rays thought he had all along.
10 home runs this year for Beckham. Go ahead run at second with 2 outs. 3-3 game here in the 8th.
And one thing Beckham will do, having a good year, but he does swing and miss quite often. He's already struck out 83 times this year, 4th most in the American League. So if you make your pitches, you can get him out.
Beckham batting .316 over his last 24. Taking all the way, and it's ball 1.
And the reason why Beckham didn't start here tonight, battling a sore knee. He didn't start yesterday's game as well in Toronto.
Saw him out there before the game today testing that knee out.
Looked like he had no problem running. A lot of times when you are healthy and you tell the manager you are healthy to go, a lot of times they will make you wait one more day.
Chopper up the middle, fielded by Iglesias, and he's out at first base. That'll end the inning. However, the home run by Sousa has tied it up. Coming up for the Tigers, it'll be Upton, Castellanos, and Presley. J-Up will get things started here for the Tigers. And the Rays have a couple of changes. Daniel Robertson will slide from short to second with Martinez out of the game. Beckham will remain in the contest and play short. It'll be Upton, Castellanos, and Presley due up here against Jumbo Diaz. Upton, a couple of pop-ups and a walk. And he drives one foul down the right field line, 0-1.
It sounded like he broke his bat. A 94-mile-per-hour fastball off the end of the bat.
Justin Wilson now warming in the Detroit bullpen. Diaz came on in the 7th, got a ground ball from Victor, but it was misplayed by the shortstop Robertson, and it scored the go-ahead run for the Tigers at the time.
It's been a rough night for Robertson at shortstop. They have made 2 errors tonight. That would be the Rays. He's made both of those.
Now the 0-1.
And Jumbo just 2 pitches. That fastball gets up into the upper 90s. And he's got a slider that is pretty much 89 to 92. And they say he has a changeup as well, but does not throw that changeup very often, if at all.
Fly ball right field shallow. Souza coming in. And Upton is retired, 1 gone. Jay up 0 for 3 now. We'll bring up Castellanos. Nick tonight with a couple of fly balls, and he also reached on an error. Both sides have 3 runs on 8 hits. Nick swings and misses 0-1. Jumbo's given name is Jose Rafael Rodriguez Diaz. Goes by Jumbo.
Simplify. You know.
It's much easier that way.
Yeah.
The 0-1. Ooh, look out. Right back up the middle into center. A base hit. Chuck and duck. Jumbo hit the deck.
Yeah, Jumbo might have to check his britches after that one. I'm telling you.
That thing was smoked.
Look at him. Whoa, Jumbo.
Well, the go-ahead run on for the Tigers now, and here is Presley.
Alex has got a lot of room down toward third base if he's thinking about bunting for a hit.
Oh, 0-1.
And sometimes when you have the kind of speed that he has, I mean, you could just go right in this direction right here. Where Longoria, he's a good defender, but I mean, you're trying to win a game, and if you got the kind of speed that Presley has, if he's going to give it to you, you might as well take it. And that is part of Presley's game.
'98 from Diaz, missing high. Presley had a double with 2 outs in the 6th, but Iglesias bounced back to the mound. That ended that threat.
That really could have gone as an error on the center fielder, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, Smith did not play that ball well. In there, a strike called right at the top of the zone.
Yeah, it's a backup slider there. Not a good pitch, but good enough to be called a strike by the home plate umpire, Ben May. It's the first time I think I've called Ben May's name as far as the umpiring group. You had him before?
Trying to think. I recognize the name, but I don't know if we've seen him this year. Jerry Meals is the crew chief in this crew. Swing and a miss. Presley foul tipped it into the glove for strike 3.
A lot of times the regular umpires, they will get a week off or 2 weeks off, and that's when they call up some of the younger minor league umpires and let them get their feet wet in the big leagues.
So here is Iglesias now with 2 outs. 3-3 game. Game 1 in what will be a 4-game weekend set here at the ballpark. Father's Day weekend. In there, strike 1. Another mid-90s fastball from Diaz. More action. Danny Farquhar warming up. Slice to right field, foul. He made a bid. Oh, 2.
The way things have been going for Iglesias, I thought for sure that ball would land in fair territory. That's how good he's been going.
That would have been interesting because Castellanos was off on the crack of the bat and he was flying around second.
And Nick running much better these days.
Now Iglesias down 0-2. Another flare to right field foul. Iggy with a double in his first at bat, a 6-game streak now for Iglesias.
In last 16 games, Iglesias over 400.
And you can couple that with Gold Glove caliber defense at short as well. Another one down the right field line, foul. Broke his bat. Tigers went ahead with a run in the 7th on an error by the shortstop Robertson, but the Rays tied it up on the Souza home run off Francisco Rodriguez in the 8th.
And Jumbo has failed to waste a pitch to Iglesias. He continues to pump in strike after strike.
Soft line drive to first, caught there by Morrison. That'll end the inning. No runs, a single one left. Let's go to the 9th.
Sam update somewhere in the Tigers clubhouse. Justin Verlander probably biting down on the inside of his cheek He did not get the win tonight, but you saw something you really liked.
Well, obviously the walks continue to be an issue for Justin Verlander, guys, but there was one pitch in particular that he was able to command the strike zone extremely well with. And if you stick around for the post-game show, I'm going to tell you what that pitch was.
All right, Mario Rod, up to you. When I grow up, I want to be just like Jumbo Diaz, I think. And I'm dangerously close there already.
No comment, Keats. Thanks. As we go to the ninth. Justin Wilson coming on now for the Tigers. And he'll face the number 9 hitter, Sucre, to lead things off. 3-3 game. Tigers and Rays here in game 1. And Sucre looks at ball 1.
And wall-side windows pitching change. Justin Wilson pitching in his 28th game. He has 8 holds. He is the closer now. 37 strikeouts, 11 walks.
Big swing there. Wilson gave up the home run to Peralta in game 1 in that series against the Diamondbacks. Devil Rays don't even exist anymore.
Yeah, they've been gone for a minute.
And that gave the Diamondbacks the win in game 1 in that series. Here's the 1-1 now. And a strike on the outer edge.
Yeah, Wilson's got that real nice, smooth, easy delivery, and the ball just kind of jumps out of his hand. And Tommy Hunter is now warming up in the Rays bullpen.
Here's the 1-2. Fly ball right field. JD backs up. Sucre is out, 1 gone.
And just like we promised you earlier in the game, it's Miller time, and it is brought to you by Miller Lite. And last half inning, a changeup thrown by Francisco Rodriguez to Souza Jr. And Jr. connects for his 12th big fly of the season, and that tied the score at 3.
Leadoff man Malik Smith. He's got Castellanos in tight at third base on the grass. And he pops up a bunt. It'll go back on top of the dugout.
He did not try to bunt one time today against Verlander, the right-hander, but attempts to get himself a base hit there against Wilson. He already has 3 bunt base hits this year, and he's only played in a handful of games.
Trying again, and he lets you go by for strike 2.
Never understood that, why a guy would square 2 bunt and then take a strike. Now he's sitting in a count. Now that's not very favorable.
Smith came in 4 for 10 against left-handed pitching for a .400 average. Small sample. And Justin could not get him to chase there. 1-2.
Yeah, Smith was once traded for our very own Justin Upton. Yeah, Smith was traded from San Diego to Atlanta, and Upton went the other way. There was about 3 or 4 other players with Smith, though, going to Atlanta for J-Up.
Swing and a miss. Wilson finishes him off. 2 gone on the ninth.
And pretty good location with this pitch to finish off Smith. It's a nice little slide piece down at 85 miles an hour.
Here is Corey Dickerson.
Yeah, you were talking about Corey earlier today, the fact that left-handers, they don't bother him. He's done a nice job this year against left-handed pitching.
.337. He has hit 2 homers against lefties.
He'll make an all-star team this year.
0-1.
Lost 20 pounds in the offseason. .337 against lefties, .333 against right-handers. Spraying the ball all around the field.
Wilson trying to get a clean ninth here and give the Tigers a chance at a walk-off win. One ball and one strike. Ooh, 1 and 2. Longoria waiting on deck. Three game here in the ninth. Now the 1-2. Fouled away. Hunter joined by Colomé in case the Rays were to take the lead.
And one is the setup man, the other is the closer. Colomé is the closer.
And again the 1-2. Another spoil there by Dickerson.
Hey, you might want to finish him off with that same pitch that you were able to finish Smith off with, the breaking ball at about 85. If you get it down away from Dickerson, you might get yourself a swing and miss, or at least induce some soft contact. Pretty much all fastballs so far thrown to Corey.
Little looper in the left field. It's going to be a base hit.
He got the soft contact, but he got a base hit. Sometimes you can make the pitch and the hitter still can be rewarded.
Little soft serve out to left field. That'll be the 9th hit of the game now for the Rays. And it'll keep it going now for Longoria.
You can see why Dickerson's having such a good year against left-handers. He stayed in there all the way against Wilson, who's been a very tough left-hander this year.
Longoria is 1 for 4. Both teams now have 9 hits. Ball one high. Longoria laid off. 96 there from the lefty Wilson. 9 homers this year for the third baseman of the Rays. Here's the 1-0 pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike on the 3-time All-Star Evan Longoria. Not a whole lot of history between these two, but the history that does exist has been in the favor of Justin Wilson. 0 for 3, couple of strikeouts. Two-out single, bloop hit by Dickerson keeps the inning going. Now the 1-1. Big swing there by Longoria. 1-2. Morris did another tough out waiting on deck. Here's the 1-2. Swing and a miss to strike him out. Wilson, a couple of punch outs here in the 9th. Tigers at the top of the order, coming up at the bottom of the 9th, trying to walk it off. Cobb went 6 2/3, allowing 2 earned runs for the Rays. Verlander 7 innings, 2 earned runs. And Steven Souza Jr., the game-tying homer off K-Rod in the 8th. And that's why the Tigers now are going to have to try and win it in the bottom of the 9th. They'll have the top of the lineup coming up. It'll be Kinsler, Avila, and Cabrera facing a new pitcher and a wall-side windows pitching change, Tommy Hunter.
Another good arm out of the Rays bullpen, and Hunter's having a fantastic season. His ERA just a shade over 1.5. The whip just over 1. 16 strikeouts, 5 walks for Hunter. Fastball in the mid-90s. He also has a cutter and a curveball in part of the 3-pitch mix.
Justin Wilson was able to get through the 9th. And now here is Kinsler to get it going in the bottom of the 9th inning. Ian's been on base twice, single hit by pitch, and way up high into the backstop it goes. Hello. 1-0 on Ian. Kinsler now at 251. Breaking ball dives in for a strike. 1-1. Hunter began his career with Texas. Kinsler just 1 for 10 against him. Also was a pretty good starter for the Orioles. And a strike call. And he still brings it in 97.
Yeah, Ian and Tommy were teammates in Texas.
Here's the 1-2. Again, upper 90s. Alex Avila waiting on deck, then Cabrera. Bouncing ball left side, Longoria with a backhand. Kinsler is out.
Evan Longoria has been a very busy man tonight. A lot of ground balls off the bats of the Tigers' right-handed bats tonight.
Really, maybe the biggest one was the double play ball that Cabrera hit with 2 men on in the 7th inning.
Agreed.
He hit it right at Longoria, who started the 5-4-3. Here is Avila, who walked in his last at bat, otherwise 0 for 3. Come on, Avila.
She got the rally cap on. She looks serious. Glove,
Yeah,
rally cap.
And yelling at him.
Looks serious.
1 ball, no strikes. Let's go, Avila.
Gotta love it.
Got the glove, the rally cap,
She's having a blast.
and a pretty good set of lungs, too.
She's having a blast.
Here's the 1-0. Inside, 2 balls to no strikes. A 3-3 game. The Rays tied it up with a home run in the 8th. Outfield playing deep on Avila and right. Here's the 2-0. High, ball 3. Miggy on deck. He's swinging 3-0.
You brought it up earlier.
Yeah.
We're seeing more and more guys swing 3-0.
That used to be a take count all the way. And now guys are trying to jump.
And you mentioned that Miggy is in the on deck circle, but not Victor Martinez in the hole. Victor Martinez was pinch ran for the last time he was on first base. Machado right now occupying that spot. Get out, Wall.
Soft line drive, base hit. Avila is on as the winning run.
Got a pinch run for him?
I would.
A little cut fastball inside on Avila. He didn't hit it on the barrel, but still strong enough to muscle the ball into the outfield, beating the shift.
Romine will come on a pinch run now for Avila. You get a gapper here by Miggy and the ball game's over. Cabrera knocked into a double play in the 7th. He's got himself a double as well in this ball game, 1 for 4. That is the 10th Tigers hit of the night. Ball 1. Really brought up a great point there with Machado waiting on deck instead of Victor Martinez. It really kind of changes the complexion of how Hunter wants to go after the hitter here.
Right. I thought maybe he would use Romine to pinch hit against the right-hander, but he's using Romine to run at first base right now. I still don't think Machado's going to hit, though.
That'll dive in for a strike. Good breaking ball there at the bottom of the strike zone, 1-1.
Brad has McCann on his bench, who will catch if this game goes into extra innings. He also has Mikey Matuk on the bench, who's gotten some big hits this year.
Two and one.
About 3 or 4 years ago, when Miguel Cabrera was up in this particular situation, you just knew it was game over, right?
You did. Still maybe right now. Come on, Miggy. 2-1.
Romine has 3 steals. He's been caught 3 times. Boy, would it be risky to try to run here and get thrown out, though, with Miggy in the batter's box. Miggy is 4 for 11 in his career against Hunter, good for a .364 batting average.
High fly ball deep in right field. Back to the track, to the wall, and that ball is gone. It's a game winner. Walk-off home run, Miguel Cabrera. Since May the 20th, and he walks it off.
That had to feel great to the big fella.
Cabrera goes the opposite way with a 2-run shot off Tommy Hunter. And the Tigers beat the Rays.
And Miguel Cabrera, you could tell he was concentrating. We talked about the numbers against Tommy Hunter right before the pitch. A .364 career average. Miggy got that fastball up and was able to hit it out to right field. Fastball leaked right back over the heart of the plate at 97 miles an hour. And the big fella gets loose.
Number 6 on the year for Cabrera. He seemed to know it. A walk-off home run. And right now he's standing by with our Matt Shepard.
Mario, he's a special player. 122 career homers
in the 7th inning or later for Miguel Cabrera. What is it about the later stages of games that allows you to thrive so much?
I mean, I don't know. I try to stay focused. I try to stay positive. I try to do my job, you know. I do my best in the field and try to make something happen.
What were you looking for in that final at-bat here in the 9th?
I mean, good contact. I mean, I know it's a long time I don't hit a home run, but I mean, I try hard, but this happens sometimes.
It's not easy to hit home runs. It had been since May 20th. Does that weigh on you at all?
I mean, we try to win here, you know. It's not about personal numbers. It's not about me, what I'm doing, but what I let you know, tell you something like, I always want to play 100%. I always want to be, it doesn't matter if I go for 4, 2 for 4, 3 for 4, but I always want to be there in the field and try to win games.
Congratulations and happy early Father's Day to you.
Thank you, sir.
Miguel Cabrera, a guy, by the way, I talked with Kevin Cash before the game, Mario, and I said, hey, listen, you know, it's been a long time since Miguel Cabrera hit a home run. He said, yeah, thanks a lot, man. You know what that means tonight. He had a premonition. Miguel Cabrera wins it. Back to you, to the Coliseum studio. John Keating.
All right, Chip, thanks. So Kevin Cash is learning what we've already known, that Matt Shepard is a jinx, or can be from time to time. All right, Tigers Live is coming right up, and all of a sudden, it's a giddy installment of Tigers Live because of this. Miguel Cabrera, as Rod Allen said, getting loose. Man, do the Tigers need this. Justin Verlander gave his team a terrific start, albeit without a win. We'll talk of Alex Cobb and the challenge.